It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis is here. Paris Martineau is here. Of course, we've got Alphabet's results. It was a very good quarter, enough to put them into the $2 trillion club. Congratulations. They celebrated by adding farts to the Android phone app. Okay, that's very mature. And then the Rabbit R1. Is it just an Android phone with one app? All that and more coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 766 for May Day 2024. Area man buys onion. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, a show where we cover the latest news from Google and the Googleverse, which is Twitter and AI. We do a lot of AI these days. I bet you're not surprised. Jeff Jarvis is here. He is the host of the AI Inside Show with Jason Howell every Wednesday morning. He comes here in the Wednesday afternoon to do our This Week in Google show. He is also the emeritus professor at the Latin Town professor for journalistic innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
So yesterday I held an event. We'll talk about it more, I'm sure, in a minute, but I want to do this preamble at Civic Hall, which is this new wonderful space in New York, which Craig Newmark helped pay for. And Craig has an office there, and I brought Craig down. He gave a welcome for our event. And it so happens the sound guy, Kevin, I'm pretty sure that's his name. I hope that's your name, Kevin, was there. And I walked down the hall looking for the restroom. He said, "Mr. Jarvis, you want the restroom?" And I thought, boy, he can really read my name tag from the distance. He said, no, I'm a Twig fan.
Oh.
Loves Twig. So he said, here, my first fanboy moment. I said, oh, that's great. And so then Craig came in. So I said, Craig, you got to meet somebody. And I brought him over, and I said, this is Craig Newmark. And nobody really liked my joke very much. But.
Craig probably didn't even like it. You should have sung him the Pigeon Man song, and then he would have been happy.
Yeah.
Also here, actually, they finally met in person. Paris Martineau from The Information, Martineau 01 on the Signal, and you and Jeff hobnobbed.
Photographic evidence.
We have photographic evidence. I went to Jeff's event at Civic Hall. It was lovely. And we got a photo together for proof of life that we both exist in meat space.
You said you learned quite a bit in the morning from the morning session. You liked it, huh?
There we are.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh, look
it was
at you
super
guys.
informative,
Thank you so much.
really interesting. Jeff is a great MC. We all knew
You're so
that.
great. Mike Masnick did a super presentation of the dangers to the open internet by all this copyright stuff. He did 150 slides in 5 minutes.
That's the way to do it.
His was really funny, too.
It was great. It was just wonderful.
I'm not
and
surprised. Yeah.
Gard Styro, who's the editor of VG, which is the New York Times of Norway. I said, how do you say VG in Norwegian? And he said, VG. He gave a great presentation about rather than suing AI companies they're trying to figure out how to use AI for better journalism, and they're just doing amazing things. Why can't we be more like Norway? And then I
was amazed by all the different ways they're integrating AI into their newsroom. I mean, from
phenomenal.
Kind of tools integrated into their CMS to allow, they have a Slack channel where instead of people pinging their data journalists with dumb questions, it'll just automatically kind of answer the questions for them.
Wow.
It was quite well done.
They have an editing buddy that put the stories through. They found that people read short summaries of stories, so they have the AI writing those because the reporters hate writing them.
Oh, and one thing I thought was interesting is if they want to put their stories on social, they have a tool where essentially you can be like, oh, I want to, I've got a video that was embedded in this story. Here's kind of the text that we want to have it on a vertical video. And then you can pick from a handful of different emotions or tones for the video, and it creates
we use that. Yeah.
An AI generated video. Basically.
You know those clips that we send you. That's how we do those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are AI generated. Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, here in America, Google has added fart sounds to its phone calling app.
Hey, is it the changelog already?
That was the changelog. That was the only thing in the changelog.
I know, but it's so American, right? Audio emoji, so that you're on a phone call with somebody, you can press applause, crying, cheers, or yes, a poop emoji, I guess, makes a fart sound.
Okay, I actually really get behind this because I think we all need to be pivoting to kind of a shock jock.
Yeah, basically,
DJ
you're making your
situation.
phone call into morning radio.
Yeah, I want to. Every phone call should be morning zoo.
Oh,
Ideally,
man. There's clapping, laughing, party. There's a trombone, sad trombone. Wah, 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 wah. There's poop, and there's a sting. Pa-dum-pumps. You know, a rim shot. Pa-dum-pumps.
So you put this in your texts?
You will be able, no, in your phone call. So this is rolling out right
Oh, my
now.
Lord.
I looked at today
no.
because I tried to do it to somebody, but I couldn't. But look for it in your Google phone app. So you're making a phone call, and in the settings, I think there's a more button. Yeah, there is. There's a 3-dot more button. And you'll see if you've got it, audio emoji. I really wanted to play it for y'all, but I don't have it yet. There does seem, according to 9 to 5 Google, to be a limit on how often you can use these sounds. There's a cooldown in between that prevents you from, I think, from harassing people. is probably-
You've farted too often.
Yes, that's right. So pause briefly.
Well, you know where it's going to get used is spam calls.
Yeah. Somebody's
That's how
calling
you're going to
you.
get back at spammers.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it's in the beta channel version 128. It'll be launching for all users in the weeks to come. And that's your Google change log.
It's long.
I just couldn't. Thank you very much.
There you go. Thank you.
The juxtaposition between all this stuff they're doing with AI in Norwegian newsrooms and this.
Farting. That's
Says
America.
it all.
Farting and suing. All we do is fart and
Fart
sue.
and
here.
sue. And sometimes, as in the case of Donald Trump, we do it both at the same time. So, sorry, didn't mean to get.
And by the way, let's just make clear: Howard Stern, the original shock jock, is no longer a shock
He doesn't
jock.
do it
Instead of
anymore.
farting, he has the president of the United States on.
So this is really interesting because Biden will not give an interview to the New York Times. And by the way, I saw your piece slamming the New York Times. But he will. But he, at the same time as they said no to the nation's newspaper of record, they said yes to Howard Stern.
And it was an amazing. Did you hear it by chance?
No. Was it
It
good?
was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Howard, it was more than an hour. I learned more about Biden's character and soul from that interview
I'll
than
have to listen
anything
to
I've
it.
ever heard. And it's classic Howard Stern in his best interview ways.
I love.
He starts
Howard
off.
You do too.
You like him? Or?
I'm surrounded by Stern
I'm a big
lovers.
The one thing that I'm just so mad at myself. I wanted to set my alarm Monday morning to call in because he actually answers my calls.
He knows
and I
Howard
wanted-
Paris.
I wanted to call
he
in
appears on the show
and-
regularly. Yeah.
Well, not regularly, but when I have something to say, and I had something to say, I wanted to praise him. I emailed Gary Delabate over the weekend saying, I hope you make the whole interview public. It's necessary for the democracy. Anyway, Howard starts off getting Biden to talk about his father. Not that there was anything necessarily new to hear, but it was really illuminating about his character and his upbringing and how he became who he was. He had him talk about his first wife and that tragedy in a way that was quite amazing. Finally, got to some stuff, but then the newspapers are going to make fun of him. So the Times, there was Politico coverage this week that says that A.G. Sulzberger, now the chairman of the Times Company and publisher of the Times newspaper, is, according to an unnamed journalist at the Times, basically blessing all of the anti-Biden age coverage they've been doing because AG is pissed off that Biden hasn't given an interview. He considers this his birthright, and that that the publisher of the Times should interview every president.
It did
And
used to
Biden,
be
I
that
think
way. That was
wisely,
kind
said
of
no.
a
Yeah.
regular thing. But A.G.
But Biden
Sulzberger
says
is
no.
not a journalist even. He just is the
He
owner.
is.
He is?
He is. No, he did good journalistic work. He did his time outside the Times Company and then the
Okay.
Times Company. No, he has journalistic stripes, but this is petulant BS. And so the Times then responded. This is what made me set off, and I said, I've had it with the Times. The Times is broken. I finally said it out loud. The Times response was not self-reflection. The Times response was still smashing Biden for not interviewing us. And so Biden
That is a little petulant.
does the interview Friday with Howard Stern, and then at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he makes a point of saying
You
that
mentioned
did
it.
an interview with
Yeah.
Howard Stern,
Yeah.
not the Times.
I'm curious though. I mean, has Biden done any interviews with like actual journalists recently?
Very recently, no, but he's also not doing the big places. And he's
I mean,
doing
it
other-
makes sense, I guess, from a PR strategy that you would say, hey, let's try and get your story out there in a much lighter, more favorable light with an interview with someone like Howard versus what's probably going to be a hard-hitting, difficult interview
You weren't
at a
born
major news organization.
Bill Clinton went on the Arsenio Hall show to play the saxophone. But that was actually considered...
I've seen that video, though.
In
and that's got
1991, when he
Riz.
did that, it was considered groundbreaking because presidents usually were more dignified than that, but also a major success in bringing out the vote for Bill Clinton. So I think that that's what's going on. And it makes me mad because for the same reason that Biden appeared on Howard Stern, he also has a TikTok, as a campaign, has a TikTok account at the same time as he's banning it. And it's really, to me, pandering to young people saying, well, it's the same reason they brought influencers into the White House. Influencers. They'll never bring me in.
And
another thing.
Players in the Bachelor.
Those influencers. Okay, and then ban TikTok, right? I mean, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
By the way, just so you know, here it is on the Howard Stern website, howardstern.com. They put a little tiny 59-second clip in public. Oh, I want to watch more. Press watch more. Oh, look, there it is. President Joe Biden video. I have to subscribe to SiriusXM, and I sure as hell am not going to do that because they are the evil empire. So I guess I won't be seeing it, Jeff.
bitter radio guy.
Radio beef. Who's petulant now?
Wait a minute. Buy a car with SiriusXM in it, okay? Almost all new cars come with it for 6 months, some limited time. And then see how many emails, mails, letters, calls, how many times they try to bill you. You can't, once they glom onto you, you can never get rid of SiriusXM. It's a nightmare company. And it's dead meat because it's a satellite radio company. Who the hell needs that? Have you ever heard of a smartphone? Anyway, Howard.
You're still just a bitter radio guy.
No, I'm not. I don't have any. Look, I quit radio. I'm out of radio. I'm a podcaster, don't you know? We mention all this not because it has anything to do with tech, but because Jeff is in the bag for Howard Stern. So Baba Booey to you all.
I am.
Baba Booey to us all.
Baba Booey to you all.
My favorite, one of my favorite.
Oh, wait a minute. I take it back. Twit podcasts are available via SiriusXM. I love those guys.
I think large-scale marketing is great.
I've just been handed this note. Whoops. Never mind.
Well, it's just like Howard hates podcasts and makes fun of podcasts. It's a podcast, he's not radio and all that. And then SiriusXM does podcasts, so now he has to be nice to them. When I reviewed him the first time in TV Guide, my favorite line was that Howard is more than the sum of his farts.
Oh, that's really good.
I can never really get past the fact that at one point he had a guy playing the piano with his penis on the radio. That was pretty much
great content.
When I stopped
That's creativity,
listening to Howard Stern. That was it. I never listened again. And I know everybody says, oh, no, it's the new. He's a great interviewer. That's fine.
He's a phenomenal interviewer.
There are lots of great
interviews. One of the formative radio experiences of my childhood was being in the car when there was a time where Howard would do this bit where if someone came late to the studio, they'd prank them. And one of his producers, this guy Sal, had showed up late, and it was also the day they were supposed to renew their contract for the next decade. Right. And they go on this whole hour-long diatribe of telling everybody in the studio that they're canceling the show just to prank Sal. And everybody's crying. This guy is going to lose his job. He's devastated. And after an hour of committing to the bit, he's like, "What happened today, Sal?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "You were late, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "And what happens when you get late?" And he's like, "You get goofed on?" And he's like, "Yeah, you get goofed on." And I remember being in the car listening to that and being like, this is radio gold.
Well, this proves how hip your parents are, is that they would play Howard Stern in front of you. That's risky.
Mm-hmm.
This pains
That's
me.
edgy.
This pains me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Leo. I'm sorry.
Sorry. He's brilliant. He's the best.
Oh, he's not brilliant. All right,
yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Fart Man. He had a character. You know this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. He had a movie. He had a movie.
In a movie.
Was going to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leo, do you think the bits on our show are any better than that?
Yes. We don't.
We've opened multiple shows in the last month by just listening to AI songs.
Yeah, but we
and
celebrate. We celebrate the body electric. We don't. exploit people. We don't exploit people.
God, bitter
He would
old
never do a
radio
prank
fart.
on air.
He's a nightmare exploiter. I'm sorry. I can't. Anyway, the Rabbit R1.
See, once again, Paris and I find kismet.
I know. I
true.
think I'm
This is
glad
why
you
we
guys.
met up without
glad
you.
you guys. Yeah, please don't have me over.
And you're left out.
You can have your Howard Stern listening party on your own. You punks. You.
Well, that's a good idea.
I read his book. I saw the movie. I've listened to him many, many times. I'm not against him.
You're just a bitter old radio fart.
I feel like it's like Bill Clinton playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall. It's kind of blatant pandering. And I guess as a
People
politician, you got to
pandering?
do that. Well, I guess
In
you have to do that as a
politics?
politician. But, well, we'll see. Is he going to do some serious interviews? Or is he trying to...
all of them are technically serious.
He's trying to
XM.
renovate. Yeah. He's trying to renovate his image with young people. I guess that's what you have to do to get elected at this point.
Well, I don't know how young Howard Stern's audience is, actually.
Well, that's the irony of it. I'm sure Biden's people think he's hip.
I mean, the audience is young. in
Arsenio
comparison to
wasn't
Biden.
that hip either. Believe me.
Well, so Hillary, when she finally did appear on the show, admitted that not doing Howard was a big mistake.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Makes me even more angry. Just what we need. I'm sure Biden will do Joe Rogan. Don't you
God
think?
help us.
Yeah. Well, I feel about Howard Stern about the same way I feel about Joe Rogan.
That's not fair. That's not fair. Paris, let's go on strike.
Yeah, we're out. Sorry.
All right. I'm sorry. I mean, it'd be controversial.
Yeah, that's it. I'm out of here.
Michelle Rahman got a big
He
scoop.
didn't notice.
The Jeff turning off his lights
Yes,
as
that's
a
it.
gag on a podcast is
shocked.
really quite funny.
So you know the Rabbit R1, which is that AI thing. I tell you what, this is how you get an AI winner: is you overpromise and you underdeliver. The Humane Pin, good example. Now the Rabbit R1, which I liked. Benito, you and I liked the design because it was teenage engineering.
Yeah, I like the hardware.
Very cool. Well, guess what? It's just an Android phone with one app on it. Michelle Rahman, he even got the APK off and was able to run it on a Pixel 6 as an app.
Until they blocked it. Until the news story came out. They blocked it while he was on the show talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Jason told me all this.
Yeah, Rabbit reached out to Android Authority with a statement from its founder and CEO at 1 a.m. this morning. Jesse Liu, the statement argues the R1's interface is not an app. The company explains the LLM it uses runs on the cloud. Yeah, you know what? So does ChatGPT on my phone, which is something we never questioned, says Android Authority. We'll be following up with another article. We should get Michelle on, actually, and talk to him about it.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be fun.
He on his Twitter account, he showed a Pixel 6 running the Rabbit R1 interface. If that's not an Android app, I don't know what you call it. It's an APK. Anyway.
So is it so wrong to, the moral would seem to be it doesn't need to be a hardware device because it could be on your phone.
Right.
But is it so wrong to make a hardware device?
No.
For special use?
I guess not. I don't know, Benito, you were thinking about buying the R1 as I was. You and I both kind of pulled back from the cliff. What do you think? Does this sully it a little bit?
Well, I would have taken off the software on it anyway and put whatever I wanted on
you
there
just
anyway.
you wanted the hardware.
I like the hardware.
Yeah, because they
That's
make
a whole
great
other way
little
to go.
synthesizers and stuff. Yeah. So what essentially happens on this R1 is you talk to it and it goes out and does something like books and Uber or whatever. I mean, if you can actually do it on your phone. So that actually ties into the story today. So I had Kevin Rose on Sunday on Twit, and he said, have you tried Gemini? Google's rebranded Bard. And I said, well, no. He said, you got to try Gemini Advance. It's really good. So I did. I gave it some of my test questions with my, coding examples, and it did really, really well without any training. I had to train ChatGPT to get the same answers. Google also offers on the Pixel the Gemini app. And in fact, go ahead, you can show it. You can actually switch to Gemini from Google Assistant. So in a way, this is kind of like the R1. If you want to use an AI in your phone, now there are some downsides. It says if you take off Assistant, you'll lose some things like the Assistant routines. I don't use those, so that's okay. Things like, say goodnight. I'm not thrilled about translate conversations in real time.
Why can't Gemini do that?
I bet it will. But if you switch to but it won't right now, I guess is the point. If you switch to Gemini, it can create custom images. It can write emails, posts, and more. Make learning easy. This is all Google. Set up alarms, timers, and reminders. That's what most people use Google's Assistant for anyway, right? And more. So I'm going to switch. I saved this for you. I'm going to switch over. And now you have to read things like, well, it might be wrong. It might do things wrong. It might hallucinate. Don't worry.
It will do things wrong.
So now when I press, I don't remember how I invoke the Google Assistant. They don't have a button anymore, do they? They used to. Used to be able to squeeze it, right? Get the assistant. But when I press this, I can say, translate, I really don't like Howard Stern and his childish antics into French. It'll sound better in French. It's thinking.
It's taken its sweet time.
Yeah.
Close. Of course, I can help you with that. Here's a translation in French. Oh, I didn't say it out loud. Je n'aime vraiment
You can press
pas.
the speaker.
Yeah. Where is it? There it is.
Of course, I can help you with that. Here's the translation in French. Je n'aime vraiment pas Howard Stern et ses pitreries puériles.
So there.
C'est là.
How was the accent, Leo?
It was very good. Your mother smells like elderberries, and your father is a cow in French. Anyway, that's enough. So now but that's interesting. The Google Assistant is now the Gemini AI.
You're paying for this.
$20 a month. It's part of Google One. So it's an additional fee on top of Google
I got it. I actually got offered it corporate, but I think my corporate, because I guess what kind of account I have.
Workspace
is really expensive.
Has it as well. I think it's $30 on Workspace. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? I pay 20 for it. 20 is the going rate these days. Kind of all across the board.
On Workspace, it's 30 per user. So I've got two colleagues of mine who I've been working for 10 years, who I gave email addresses to. So I pay for them every month because I don't want to act like I'm a cheapskate on my Workspace. So I would have to pay 3 times that.
Huh. That's not good.
Not what you want.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, Apple is, of course, talking to Google about using Apple's going to make apparently this big AI push come June at the Worldwide Developers Conference with the announcement of AI features in iOS 18. And it is rumored with new iPads next week that will have a special version of the M chip, the M4 chip that has additional AI capabilities built in. They want to make that iPad an AI device. But Apple's not known for AI. In fact, their assistant, Siri, is kind of known for being the dunce. But they're negotiating not only with Google now. We just learned that we're also negotiating with. They're also negotiating with OpenAI. So I wonder if they're going to do the same thing, which is take that voice assistant and give it to something smarter. And then I wonder, Amazon announced their Q. Did you talk about that today on AI Inside?
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, that's Amazon's AI, a generative AI powered assistant. I wonder if that's going to become Alexa.
Well, no. Here's I think it's a difference. Is that they only open it up to AWS users.
Right. It's for business.
This strikes me. Yeah. So I'm curious to hear what you say about this. Because my theory is that this is their B2B play. They're enabling others to do it, and it's also a RAG play. What I mean by that is that when you just talk to the raw model, you get crap because it has no sense of fact or meaning.
Right.
But if you talk to one, and if you try to tune that and put it in guardrails, it still has no sense of meaning or fact, and it's going to give you crap. But if you do one that uses RAG, whatever the RAG stands for, I forget what RAG stands for, which is to say that it calls on a set corpus of data you've given it, or as Leo would tell me, corpora of data, both being plural, then you get decent answers. So I wonder whether Q is like a database a back end in the web, and applications are the front end of AI. I wonder if we go back to a back end, front end.
That would make sense.
RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Yeah, it's that thing we've been talking about with both Notebook LM and the various AI assistants, local ones I've been talking about, where you give it all your information and it does retrieval of those to augment its generation.
And of course, the back end, the raw model could still be used for things like creativity and fun,
for business,
and songs and other things.
Yeah.
But for business, you've got to just use that as the back end, and then you've got to have the front end of something that's going to be reliable.
It's really I hope that things like the Humane Pin and the R1 don't end up hurting. Be kind of the real fear is that they'll create a new AI winner by disappointing people, and then people at some point go, you see, it doesn't work, and turn their back on it. I think we're past that point. I'm hoping we're past.
I think we are too. Well, you got glasses coming out at our event yesterday. Parag Agarwal was one of the panelists, and at the dinner the night before, the speaker's dinner, I looked at his glasses and it said Ray-Ban and it was thick.
Oh, he had the Metas. He had the Metas.
Oh, those are the Metas. He said yes. That we're accepting of. Though the interesting thing was, he said he's not basically using the AI. He's taking pictures of his kids and he's listening to sound on it. He says it sounds good.
The AI is relatively new. He may not even have it yet. With the AI,
really?
That's in the last couple of days. You can look at, you can say, "What is that? I'm looking. What is that? I'm looking at. Okay. What is that thing?" But that's brand.
He said he's
new.
not talking to it.
Yeah, you can. You will be able to.
I wouldn't do that.
He may not have it yet. Yeah,
that's okay.
We shall see.
So AI devices are kind of silly right now.
Yeah.
Do you ever see a point at which they actually make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like, I'm even a skeptic, and I see a point where they're going to make sense. It's
Let me
probably
take a
not
walk with you on the beach, because I think
there will be one pair of footprints, because Leo will be carrying both of us. No, I think we're right now in a silly period of this. There are going to be uses for AI devices. I'm guessing we probably can't even guess what they are. They might be surprising to us right now, but there is going to be a use case for this that we'll figure out, and then it'll be useful. But we're not there yet.
Isn't a robot an AI device, though?
Yeah, robot is too, sure.
But I think what we're talking about is like a personal AI device, like any of these wearables or small pocketable devices that we're seeing be shopped around. I feel like there's probably going to be some version of that will work eventually.
I think I'm going to need it when dementia sets in, which is going to be any minute now. I think it'll be nice that it's recorded everything, and I can say, who was that I was talking to a minute ago or something? Yeah. And it would know. I think there's going to be some real valuable features for older people. We baby boomers are heading right there. We're heading to the home.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's words. There's a few words that are stuck in bad tracks in my head that for years, this is not to mention, I have not been able to get. There's some words I always forget, always.
Oh, yeah.
And so now I can go. Now I go to AI and I say, what does the word mean that does this, this, and this? And boom, it comes back. It's like a Mondo reverse stupid person thesaurus.
Yeah. Google's results are out. We will take a break. When we come back, we will share that with you. It was in short, it was a very good year. Google, very happy. And the stock market, which has not been very happy, still rewarded Google. So that's good news. You are listening to This Week in Google, our show today brought to you by our friends at Kolide, Kolide. You've heard us talk about Kolide. I know you have. We've been talking about them quite a bit. But did you hear the news? Kolide has been partnered with 1Password. That's really good news because both companies specialize in protecting you and your stuff. Kolide works with Okta to make sure that if somebody's on your network, if somebody's coming into your network, yes, Okta protects you, make sure they are who they say they are, but Kolide makes sure that their devices are secure, that they're bringing in only secure devices. It's really a great solution. And you'll love Kolide because Kolide comes with hundreds of pre-built postures. So you can get up and running right away on stuff that everybody needs to protect against, but you can also easily customize it to protect against things that are specific to your situation. It's kind of like TSA, right? When you go to the airport. First, they look at the driver's license to make sure you are who you say you are. That's the Okta part. But then they scan your baggage to make sure you're not bringing anything untoward in with you. That's what Collide does. You want to know more? You should. This is a great time to pick up Collide now that they're partnered with 1Password. Visit collide.com/twig. You can watch an on-demand demo and find out more. Collide, device trust for Okta. Now part of 1Password. KOLIDE, collide.com/twig. Collide.com/twig. And we thank Collide so much for supporting This Week in Giggles. Alphabet's earnings are out. And it was, I think, a very good year. They have revenue of $80 billion in the quarter. That's up 15%. Operating income, $22.5 billion. Net income, $23.66 billion. That's in 3 months. That's nice. It was $15 billion a year ago. That is a big, big jump. They are now a $2 trillion company on the basis of this jump. Google
join the club.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a tech company. Advertising revenues, a big, big boost. Cloud went up from $7.5 billion to $9.5 billion. Ad revenue, $8.09 billion versus $6.69 billion last year. So significant increases. Of course, there's all the other stuff Google does. I mean, they're really an ad company. Google subscriptions, platforms, and devices, hardware, Play Store, non-advertising YouTube revenues, $8.74 billion. That's up over $7.4 billion. Other Bets loses money. It reported $495 million in revenue from $288 million in Q1, but it still lost $1 billion. A touch less than last year.
Importantly, they also offered a dividend for the first time, which is really very old company of them.
It is.
And a stock buyback.
So that's very new company. Stock buybacks are probably not what you would want a company to do. You want them to invest in R&D.
And full disclosure, I still have Google stock for many years. So the stock before all these announcements, I'm looking back here, was 153. It shot up to 181. But now
Alphabet shares rose about 13% in after-hours trading after these earnings came out.
They came back down.
Yeah, I mean, the market's going through a tough time because of they're worried about the Fed's interest rates. So this isn't a good time for any company. But if a tech company can do well right now, that's not so bad, you know. All right, well, good on you, Google. We don't. I mean, honestly, when we report on that kind of thing, it's we're not investors. We don't. Well, I don't know. You might have some stock, but we only
don't have any stock.
Good for you. You should go into old age impoverished, like the rest of us.
I think that would be really. I mean, I think that would be really nice and also very likely, given the current state of things.
I feel so sorry for your generation.
Oh
my God! What did we do? What did we do?
That's why I'm so filled with spite on this show.
You should be angry. Honestly, yeah. You should be furious. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Anyway, a good quarter for Google. They're building a $3 billion data center in Indiana, Virginia, which is confusing. Which is it? I don't know.
Your mind,
Make up your
Google.
mind. A data
Is
center
there a Google
campus,
data center, Virginia?
both, actually.
Yeah. Virginia's data center city.
It's going to build
state,
a $2 billion campus in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is where they make the tires. So that's good. Yeah, I guess. I never liked Fort Wayne because it's a little smoggy from tire manufacture. And $1 billion to expand 3 existing data center campuses in Virginia. Is probably in Nova, right? The Virginia Triangle up there. $75 million Google AI Opportunity Fund to train Americans on AI skills. How to work? Did you used to be a plumber? Now you can be an AI technician. Guru. You know what? Learn how to be a plumber. You'll make more money. Really. All right. Is that all the financial news? Is there anything else?
Well, Meta didn't do so well, though.
Didn't they? They didn't do well.
It had a good quarter, but the stock market punished.
Oh,
them
yeah, the stock market,
because they were spending money. Just in terms of stock price, because they were. I was surprised at what was happening.
No, they had actually they beat the market, but then Mark Zuckerberg comes on the analyst call, all gloomy Gus. All Eeyore says, "Well, we're not going to make any money on any of these investments." He said,
"We got to spend for
a long time. We're gonna."
But what he was saying though was, we're going to invest a lot in AI.
It's going to cost a lot of money,
and that scared them. Yeah. Plus, I think I saw one report. I think there was some hope that they too might have a dividend, but no.
Huh? That is very old school.
Amazon did well in.
Yes.
Microsoft did really well. Whew.
Yeah, Amazon's international e-commerce business turned a profit for the first quarter in quite a few years, and the operating margin for their North American business increased significantly. And AWS profit margins increased. It all seems to be coming up Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of this is AI, right?
I don't know if you can credit.
Because it's also expensive. It's also a huge source of operating expenses. But it is also a huge source of sales, I guess, for cloud services and whatnot.
So Andrew McAfee.
Right? It's AWS.
Yeah.
They make all of them.
Oh, AWS. Yeah, for Amazon, you're right.
And for Microsoft, same thing. Very lucrative. But you know what really struck me is how well all these big ones are doing in ad sales. That's the money we're not getting.
I think it's also notable that we're finally in a period where, like, the last year or two, these companies were contending with the problem if they were being compared to their COVID era spikes when you're comparing earnings to the year ago period. And so now you're finally out of that, where the comparison period is once again a normal growth period. So the fact that they're doing well seems even better.
Yeah.
So Andrew McAfee, the author and professor, he just put up on LinkedIn a link. I didn't know this. He spent a tour of duty as a visiting fellow in Google's Technology and Society group.
Huh.
I'd like that gig. I'm air quotes retired. I'll do that. Anyway, so he just did a report on the economic impact of generative AI. And I think it's early for that, but obviously he's going to argue that there's value to be had here. And it fits in a larger context of working hours reduced, standard of living is going up, lifespan is longer, except in parts of the U.S. Disease is down, except for a pandemic. And this enters in, so it's a time for rapid improvement.
Does he talk about energy consumption, though?
Oh, huge issue, isn't it?
That's a great question.
Yeah. No, nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, no one's talking about that.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile, Google has laid off a bunch of people. In their Python group, their entire Python group is laid off. It's funny how these companies make so much money and then for some reason decide to fire a bunch of people. Google has laid off hundreds of, this is from CNBC, core employees, and moving many of these jobs to India and Mexico. At least 200 employees from its core organization.
What does core mean?
I think kind of like infrastructure. The Python group was responsible for making Python. Google uses a lot of Python, making sure that Python worked in Google systems, keeping it up to date, contributing back to Python. I mean, these are kind of not. They're fundamental to the overall operation, I would guess.
They also laid off from Flutter and Dart.
Flutter and Dart.
Flutter is more development, right?
Yeah, well, so is Python. Yeah, I mean, I think these are fairly important teams. But, Ruth Porat is a ruthless.
Oh, yes.
Meanwhile, under the light of all these layoffs, you might want to consider whether you protest at Google. Google has fired now more than 50 employees for protesting, mostly over Gaza, right? And Google's involvement in making tools for the Israeli military. They fired most of them, and now more than 50 employees have alleged unlawful retaliation and have gone to the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, saying they want their jobs back. One employee, he said, all I did is I went to the lounge on the 10th floor of the New York City office around lunchtime just to see what was going on. When I got there were 20 people sitting on the floor. I didn't talk to them. I talked to folks who were standing up, passing out flyers, doing other roles. The worker went back to his desk, then returned to the protest around 5, again chatted with him, didn't sit down, didn't wear, the T-shirt. He said, oh, wow, you're still sitting here. How's it going? Finished his work day. When he came back to Google the next day, no problem. But that night while at dinner, he got an email from Google saying, you've been fired.
Oop.
That is wild.
It is.
Don't go anywhere near those protesters.
Well, that's true in a lot of places these days.
Yeah.
Try a university, folks.
Really, it's so I don't want to get into politics or Israel, Gaza. We've been avoiding that, but it is so weird. I'm sure you feel the same way, Jeff, of people of our age to see that, because it reminds me so much of 1968 and 1967, a protest that I, as a student, participated in.
The other thing it reminds me of, Leo, is the Nazis marching in Skokie, something that the ACLU then defended, and it became common belief in the U.S. that to defend free speech is to defend noxious speech.
Right.
But we're not there now, and
it is a First Amendment right
figured it out.
To peacefully protest. I guess the issue is whether they are peacefully protesting and whether they're trespassing by occupying campus buildings. I just remember the same thing happened in 1968 for what at the time I considered a very, very just cause, protesting against the Vietnam War. I remember the police brutality in Chicago, in Kent State, and Ohio. And I was watching on TV last night and praying no one got hurt. To their credit, it looks like the NYPD were careful not to hurt anybody. It's hard to tell, but they certainly went in with a big presence and a very militarized presence, but no National Guard, right? That's what happened at Kent State.
God help us.
They're not as well trained, and it's a little riskier there.
Well, I was talking to a poli-sci professor at my event yesterday, and he said they're going to regret picking Chicago for the Democratic Convention this year.
Oh, boy. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen.
I hope the same thing.
Jane Chung, a spokesperson for No Tech for Apartheid, had told The Verge the firings at Google included non-participating bystanders. Google, the NLRB says, or the complaint with the NLRB says, retaliated against approximately 50 employees, interfered with their Section 7 rights by terminating and or placing them on administrative leave in response to their protected concerted activity, namely participation or perceived participation in a peaceful, non-disruptive protest that was directly and explicitly connected to the terms and conditions of their work.
How is it directly connected to the terms?
They didn't want to do the work that they were being asked to do. They were protesting against.
Google initially put 9 employees on administrative leave for occupying its offices in New York City, Sunnyvale, California, in protest of Project Nimbus, a $1.2 billion cloud computing contract with the Israeli government. Those workers were also arrested.
But remember, a few years ago, 600 Google workers protested Project Dragonfly, an effort to build a search engine for China, and Google's response there was not to fire them, but to stop the project.
I think it's also worth noting that Google is a, I guess, unique company as far as large companies go, in that historically it has welcomed activism
Exactly.
within its ranks.
It
has fostered a culture of debate and kind of rabble rousing among its employees.
Right.
And I think it is more of a statement about the current political climate we find ourselves in than anything to do with these specific employees' actions.
That fired software engineer said there's been a total change in the way Google responds to employees trying to have a voice in their workplace. It's night and day from Google of even 5 or 10 years ago. Google's changed. I mean, I think that's the bottom line. We're going to have Ed Zitron on next week. You've had him on when I was gone, but I wanted to have him back because he's the one who wrote. He's the one who wrote your friend. He's the one who wrote that story that we were talking about last week, and we talked about Sunday on Twit about the man who ruined Google search. It was on his blog.
Boy, did that get pick up.
It did get pick up.
I saw a follow-up story today. Who is the man who ruined Google search?
Prabhakar Raghavan, who runs search, who also ran Yahoo search into the ground prior to his employment at Google. Ed makes a pretty strong case. You know why I think it got picked up? Because I think everybody kind of senses that Google is not as good as it used to be, right? The Google
I do
search
think that there
is
has
not great.
been complaints bubbling up online for quite at least a few weeks, if not months, around the change in how Google search is presented. I mean, it's even small things like the fact that you see your AI-generated summary up top, the fact that it's not as easy to easily identify what is an ad versus what is an organic search result. It's disappointing. And I think that's why this article really resonated with people. We
will ask Ed because it's his premise, his thesis. But in short, he says the reason Raghavan showed up and is made head of search, replacing Gomez, was because this ad division said the revenues are dwindling, and it's your job, search, to get people to stick around. You need to modify search to improve our ad revenues. Search historically it said no. These are separate. This is church and state, and Raghavan apparently, according to Ed, we'll talk to him next week, said no, we got to get revenues up, and what you see is the enshittification of Google search as a result. Very direct.
But I we'll talk about with Ed coming in. There's a lot of other factors here.
Yeah.
A lot of people are cramming the web itself with junk.
True. I mean, maybe Google just reflects what's out there.
I think they try not to. I mean, that's Matt Cutts was there. So I'd love to have come on too. But I think we have to realize those other factors.
Right. Well, Ed, let's let Ed stand up for his thesis next week.
He'll shoot me down.
I wasn't here,
put a content warning on that episode.
I heard about last episode. I wasn't here, but okay, we're getting ready. That'll be fun next week. So I'm still a little mad about TikTok. I'm going to admit
about Howard Stern? Oh,
no, I don't care about who. Howard who? I am mad that they banned TikTok. TikTok has 9 months to sell or get out. Chinese government and ByteDance say we're not selling, we're getting out. Whether they do or not, whether they mean it or not, creators are starting to look at other alternatives, much to the benefit of Meta and others. In fact, some would say Meta lobbied for this for years and finally got what they wanted. In fact, there was a great article in the New York Times today. I know you hate the New York Times. Do you mind if I quote them?
Yes, it's fine.
I'll tell you what. I got it. It's Washington Post. You love them, right?
Actually, they're pissing me off, too.
Okay.
Keep going.
Between you and me, everything sucks.
Yeah, we're grumpy. We're just grump.
We hate everything.
And like Paris is trying to put on her "I'm Mary Sunshine" face when she's the one who calls herself a nihilist.
No,
yeah, I know. Listen, I'm an optimistic nihilist.
Oh, I like that.
I'm a cheerful nihilist.
I like that.
A cheerful nihilist. That's the right.
Yes. This is the article by Elizabeth Dwoskin, Drew Harwell, who's very good, Kat Zakarowski. The tech billionaires who helped ban TikTok want to write AI rules for Trump. They're talking about something called the Hill and Valley Forum, which Jacob Hellberg put together, a small group of Silicon Valley insiders, and a dinner that they would go to on Washington's Embassy Row, an informal supper club, which would eventually receive funding from our favorite evil genius, Peter Thiel. This group has turned into one of the most powerful lobbying forces for the technology industry in Washington, helping draft and promote one of the country's only pieces of tech legislation in decades, the law signed by President Biden calling for the forced sale or ban of TikTok. Hey, nice job. One piece of tech legislation, and it's banning TikTok. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute. These are lobbying forces for the technology industry. Yeah, who benefits from the banning of TikTok? The American-made technology industry.
It's just like what's happening with the newspaper industry with lobbies. They lobby to get help for them, but screw all their competitors and all newcomers.
Hellberg, fresh off that
capture.
win, is aiming to expand its mission. He's prepping an executive order that newly elected President Trump would sign to dismantle the Biden administration's rules on artificial intelligence. They'll push government to pour money into AI grants and contracts that could benefit many in the group. They aim to undercut China's status as a U.S. training partner and are designing legislation that would shift the AI supply chain, including costly semiconductor chips, to domestic manufacturers.
What do you think is going to happen? I'm curious, both of you, in the courts on this.
Nothing. You know, Masnick's the one to ask, and Kathy Gellis also. But there is a long history of courts allowing the federal government to get involved in overseas, international commerce to protect.
But this is First Amendment, maybe?
Well, that's the question. In fact, I think we
talked
about this last week.
I think those who standing.
I mean, it's also, I think they'll probably try and drag national security into it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the Supreme Court, experts I've heard, and we talked about this last week, say that security will trump the First Amendment, has trumped the First Amendment in the past, and the Supreme Court is very likely to be receptive to the argument that we're protecting our national security, so, too bad about the creators. And you know what everybody says? I hear it from everybody. It's no big deal. They just go to Instagram or YouTube Shorts. It's no big deal. It's also, by the way, no coincidence.
Dangerous president.
I agree, and it's no coincidence that both Instagram and YouTube have directly copied TikTok to prepare for this day.
Yep.
I've got a quick question. If TikTok does get sold and gets shut down or whatever in the United States, what prevents anybody from what prevents ByteDance from just starting a new one? With their algorithm, they have the algorithm.
Nothing, but they won't have.
They do it with
able to transfer over all of their users.
They have to do it with a shadow U.S. company, right? That they pretend they're doing it.
But if the algorithm is the secret sauce, the thing that really gets them their users and all that, then they can just do it again, right?
Right. And presumably the Chinese government would support that, because if it's such a dangerous tool for the Chinese government, they'll figure out a way to come back. My contention is, and I'm not alone, a lot of people agree with this, the Chinese government has plenty of other ways to get that information, to influence our electorate. Look at Twitter, look at Facebook. This doesn't change a thing absent more extensive privacy regulation in the United States. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to say or want to say we will not allow CCTV, the Chinese television network in the United States. You can watch it on your cable system.
Wait. We had RT here for a long time.
And RT.
But it was not taken out by a law. It was taken out because they went to war and people said, we don't want this on our cable systems. It was taken out by proper public pressure and by individual companies deciding this.
Right.
So but we had RT as part of free speech in this country. It was here. It was obnoxious, but it was here.
So this article is really kind of terrifying if you read about it. Hellberg enlisted, besides Peter Thiel, Vinod Khosla and a number of senators, including Chuck Schumer. Khosla is a co-founder of Sun, has also embraced the role of a vocal TikTok critic. He and Hellberg co-signed a full-page ad in April last month in the Times calling TikTok a Chinese weapon of war. And, well, we don't stand to gain or lose anything from the bill. We're just private citizens doing this out of love for the country. Okay. Yeah. Methinks they do protest too much. Coastless venture firm invests in OpenAI. A University of Washington law professor is quoted as saying, doomsdaying is good marketing. The political theater of anti-TikTok bans and Cold War talk distracts from more pressing needs like properly funding NIST. Okay. The event closed with a video message from Donald Trump, who thanked attendees for keeping their chin up. Our country is going through a lot of problems right now, but we're going to make it bigger, better, stronger than ever before. I'm sure that there are people in our audience who are going to vote for Donald Trump. That's fine. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. That's your absolute right, and I hope you vote. I think I'm actually have much more problem with people who just don't bother to vote, saying it doesn't matter. But I have to say I'm a little concerned that this is the tip of the iceberg under a new regime, and I use the regime intentionally.
Yep.
The next Chinese firm to be banned, America's favorite drone maker, DJI. Congress is weighing legislation to ban it. They will ban, have the FCC ban U.S. telecommunications company from doing business with DJI, which of course would knock the drone out of the air because they use the phone system, the cellular system, to navigate. That's the only way they can do it because it's too far. You know, they go a mile away, the distance. Your DJI, your existing DJI would be safe, but any new DJI drones would be prohibited.
Okay. So what's... Go ahead, Paris. You go.
I was going to say, the article goes on, the Treasury and Commerce Departments have penalized DJI over the use of its drones for spying on Uyghur Muslims who are held in camps by Chinese officials in the Xinjiang region. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, which I think is a fair, sort of sanction.
No, it's not. Listen, DJI is not doing that. DJI drones are being used by the Chinese government to do that. DJI is not going and spying any more than DJI is going and doing law enforcement duties. It is the number one drone being used by law enforcement in the United States.
Okay, that is different.
It's not DJI. It's whoever is buying these drones, and because they are easily the best drones out there, they're the least expensive. Of course, they're used by the Chinese government and our own government. So I understand you want to punish China. Certainly, their treatment of the Uyghurs is appalling. They put them in prison camps because they're Muslims. But I don't think, the problem is we're saying any company that is a Chinese company is a threat to us. But this really leads down a pretty bad road. Our phones and our computers and our telecommunications equipment, so much of our infrastructure is made in China.
Hello. All your Macs are made in China. All your iPhones
all
are
your
made in China.
PCs are made in China too, by the way.
I mean, we really want to cut it off? Do we really want to balkanize the entire world to that extent? We've been there. We used to be there.
All right. I'm sorry.
We can blame Richard Nixon for that. I'm hoping there's some hope in the courts. I'm just praying.
I'm kind of giving up on the courts, but okay.
Well, yeah, I have too.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's no backstop. Let's take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk about something so much more cheerful. Massive fines for AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. You go get them, Lena Khan. You go get them. But
for now.
Are we gonna be hauled up before a new House Un-American Activities Committee for being the Pinko podcast? I think we are. I'm waiting to see if the NYPD is amassing outside the doors of our building as we speak.
I'll go check during the ad break.
Would you please? If they have a little ramp going up to your window, I'd get out of there. I would. I'd get out of there.
If you guys see me after the ad break, if I'm on the run while doing the rest of the show, you'll know.
When I was a young high schooler in the middle of the Vietnam War, I protested quite vigorously against the war and went to a lot of protests. And I'll never forget, being faced with a militarized police force, even in 1967, 68, 69,
Right.
somewhere around there. They were they call them the tax squad. Remember the tax squad?
Yep.
And they would march like this, and they would stop, and it was really terrifying. I, to my everlasting shame, cut and ran. I got the hell out of there. I don't want to. I mean, I had my beliefs, but I wasn't going to get arrested for them. In some ways, I respect somebody who sits down and says, nope, you're going to have to arrest me. Because I believe strongly in what I'm saying.
My father was, until his dying days, was a Barry Goldwater Republican. Always voted Republican. Conservatives could be always said that when you grow up, you're going to vote Republican too. But in New York State, the peace symbol was superimposed onto the American flag on a button. And that was called desecration of the flag. And people were getting arrested for it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a crazy moment with my father. He said, get me one of those buttons.
Good for your dad.
I'm wearing one of those buttons.
Good for your dad.
Yeah, because he was pissed off. This is not the America I know.
Actually, Barry Goldwater would probably be considered a liberal today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, well.
All politicians from the 70s and earlier.
I know. They were pretty liberal back then. Even
we'd take Nixon
even the right-wing
over,
ones. Yeah.
Even Reagan.
Well, let's not go. Not go that far, Benito. You're young. You don't remember.
Hey, no, I do remember. And Reagan actually told the PM of Israel to stop.
That's true. That's a good point. Was it Menachem Begin? No, that was Carter. Or was it still Begin after Carter? I can't remember.
He said stop, and they did.
Yeah. All right. We live in I apologize. I know you want us to talk about smartphones and AI and fun stuff, and I hear from people all the time. Look, I don't tune into your shows because I want to hear about the current state of the world because I'm trying to get away from that, and I understand. I feel the same way. But unfortunately, we're right in the middle of it, aren't we? And it's all Jeff's fault, frankly. He just
it is because
I mean, all
this.
geopolitical chaos leads back to Jeff Jarvis.
It does.
I always say this.
Well, here's the hilarious thing. Someone who doesn't like me recently speculated to someone else, so this is hearsay, that I was affiliated with the Heritage Foundation.
That's a mean thing to say.
Have you read
That
any
has to
single
hurt
tweet of
you
mine?
to your core.
That is a mean thing.
Pick any tweet I've ever written, and I have the receipt right there. It doesn't matter what it is.
They call me
tweet.
Leonard Leo Laporte, so All right, let's take a break. We're going to take a little break. But first, a word from our sponsor, Yahoo Finance. When we're doing all the reporting now on the quarterly results, and I like to, get the latest stock prices, and sometimes I even show you the graphs. And you maybe have noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, but when I show you graphs, I use Yahoo Finance. I love the graphs. Want to see how Google did the market treated Google in response to their great earnings? This is where we go. We go see the graph. Look at that. I love these little spikes here. You can learn so much. Spread it out. You'll see there was a big jump when they released that earnings report. And this was the after hours selling. You can see what their market cap is. You hear us sometimes talk about, well, how big is Google? It's a $2 trillion company. Actually, 2.033 according to Yahoo Finance. Well, I don't just use it at work. I use it at home, too, to keep track of my net worth, to keep track of how my stocks are going, my investments. Yahoo Finance. When it comes to your financial future, I think, you probably think as I do, you've done everything. You've saved, you've researched, you invested all you could. But now it's time to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial grade has used for the last 25 years, and they're still using it. Yahoo Finance. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. Having information at your fingertips is key, isn't it? Yahoo Finance provides a holistic view of the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, and more. And you can do what I do, which is link my brokerage accounts. It's completely secure to Yahoo Finance, so you can see an overall view of your wealth, even if it's in multiple accounts, including your 401k and all your investments. That bird's eye view, that comprehensive perspective is what distinguishes great investors. Information, knowledge is wealth, and Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insights, the knowledge, the information to see your wealth in its entirety and to make intelligent decisions. With a community of over 90 million users every month, Yahoo Finance's real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. Come home to Yahoo Finance. Yes, it's great. The #1 financial destination. It is. yahoofinance.com. yahoofinance.com. We thank him so much for supporting This Week in Google. You know, every time I hear people say, oh, Lena Khan and the FTC and the FCC, they're ineffective, they can't get anything done, Jessica Rosenworcel can't get anything. Every time I fight back because I say, we need these guys. This is the last defense against technology that wants to shitify the universe. So this started, and I'll give some credit to Motherboard. Joseph Cox, in 2019, you may remember his article in Motherboard, I gave a bounty hunter $300, then he located our phone. T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T are selling access to their customers' location data, and that data is ending up in the hands of bounty hunters and others not authorized to possess it. This was 5 years ago. Now, unfortunately, I'm sure it's a complete coincidence, the Senate has been so deadlocked they were not able to approve. It was Gigi Sohn, right? The President Biden's pick for the FCC. Yep. So the FCC was deadlocked 2-2. They couldn't do anything about it until finally the deadlock was broken not so long ago when a fifth commissioner was confirmed. Democrats had a 3-2 margin. Jessica Rosenworcel, the chairman of the FCC, finally got this fine through. The FCC is fining, it just warms the cockles of my heart. The U.S. mobile carriers have combined nearly $200 million for sharing customers' location data without their consent. The FCC says it found carriers sold access to its customers' location information to aggregators who then resold access to such information to third-party location-based service providers. Now, the trick the agency says they used is they offloaded their responsibility to get consent to the downstream participants. They said, okay, we're going to give you this data, but you got to ask before you use it. Of course, they didn't. And even after being made aware of the issue, the FCC says carriers still didn't limit access to the information. T-Mobile, $80 million. Sprint, which has since merged with T-Mobile, $12 million. AT&T, $57 million. Verizon, $47 million. These are actually lower than the initial fines proposed. AT&T spokesperson says the FCC's action, quote, lacks both legal and factual merit. It unfairly holds us responsible for another company's violation of our contractual contractual requirements to obtain consent. Ignores the immediate steps we took to address that company's failures, and perversely punishes us for supporting life-saving location services like emergency medical alerts and roadside assistance that the FCC itself previously encouraged. We expect to appeal the order after conducting a legal review. So they're basically saying, Your Honor, we just shared it with life-saving location services like emergency medical alerts and roadside assistance. We told them you can't use this, you can't sell it on unless you get customers' consent. It's not our problem. Verizon said one bad actor gained unauthorized access to information relating to a very small number of customers. It's an old program Verizon shut down more than half a decade ago. So this is from The Verge.
I do think it's notable to note that the fines that these companies are complaining about are a fraction of a fraction of what they make. I mean, T-Mobile's market cap is $193 billion. It made nearly $80 billion in revenue last year. AT&T is much of the same, like $120 billion in revenue last year and $121 billion market cap. And yet they are still complaining as if this is some affront to the sanctity of their businesses.
You're right.
Well, now
just the cost
the bad
of doing business.
News.
Uh-oh.
Line 93.
No. All right.
Bad news.
You have an update on this
my
story?
podcast?
Yes, I do. The FCC just doled out big privacy fines.
Oh.
It could soon lose that power.
Yeah, this is...
Why? Because of the new privacy legislation, which is so complex, I don't think anybody's fully figured out whether it's good or bad.
Well, we've been talking about this last couple of weeks. Why did Maria Cantwell, the senator from Washington, after years of fighting privacy legislation, you should know that she came from Real Networks. That was, the Real Player. Remember the Real Player? She was the CEO over there.
Which we all hated.
And which, by the way, got in trouble for selling our information.
Yep.
She's no fan of privacy. We thought, why is she sponsoring a privacy bill? And I knew there was something. One was it overrode all the state privacy bills, including the very strong California privacy bill, the Illinois privacy bill. And I thought, well, that's one reason. But although you could make the argument companies don't want to have to do a bunch of patchwork regulation, they'd like one central. So if it was a good national, good federal privacy bill, that's okay with me. Well, but it also strips the FCC of its authority to police potential privacy abuses in the telecom sector. Oh, Maria, you didn't change. This tiger did not change its spots. This tiger's still the same old tiger.
We put spots on a tiger, yeah.
Yes.
We put spots on a tiger and it couldn't get rid of them.
Sarah Collins of Public Knowledge said, the FCC is an expert regulator. It understands the intricacies of how data needs to be processed, et cetera, et cetera. They're the ones to enforce this. Congress is not the one to enforce this because they won't.
Yep.
I knew it.
This week in nihilism.
I knew it. Well, here's a victory. Okay, depends on your point of view.
You really tried. You tried to have a victory, and you didn't last through the sentence.
You couldn't do it.
Elon Musk went to the Supreme Court and said, Your Honor, the SEC should have no right to force me to have a lawyer review my tweets. Your Honor, it's his Twitter sitter case, the Washington Post, or Bloomberg calls it.
Which is funny.
That. The justices, the U.S. Supreme Court, without comment, refused to hear his appeal.
But with much hilarity.
Yes.
And giggles heard from the court.
This all started, remember when Elon tweeted back in 2018, before he owned Twitter, that he had funding secured to take Tesla private, thereby launching its stock into the stratosphere. He even set a price, $420.
$420.
And of course,
fun number.
That was a nice premium on the existing price. Launching his stock and his net worth into the stratosphere. That's what we call pump and dump. Anyway, so that's where the SEC said, you can't do that. And the consent decree, which Elon, by the way, he got fined and he agreed to, said that you're going to have to get a lawyer to review your tweets before you post them. Of course, he didn't do that. He resigned as Tesla chairman, paid $20 million. But then, 3 years later, he posts a Twitter poll saying, should I sell 10% of my stock? And I think he said, what did he say? He was going to do it for hunger relief or something. It was just BS. It was the usual Elon BS. SEC sent subpoenas to Elon and Tesla. He went back to court seeking to void his agreement. Federal appeals court rejected that appeal last year. He went on to the Supreme Court, who just without comment said, yeah, no.
I'd love to get a look at what his annual legal fees are. They got to be crazy.
Less than Trump's.
Both seem like they probably have the same likelihood of paying them.
Yeah.
Well, the former president's doing all right. Did you see the chunk of change he got from Trump Social?
Did they? They let him
DJT.
Yeah, more than $1 billion. Even though Truth Social has lost significant amounts of money, they granted him $1.8 billion in stock.
But that he can cash now or not?
Well, I remember that there was this 6-month hold right after the SPAC went through, which wasn't very long ago.
Oh, so this is a bonus on top of what he already owned?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's impressive that he was able to keep the stock up for that long after the SPAC went public, because that is rare for SPACs.
Yeah, well, if you look
because
at,
it's been manipulated.
Well, I think what happened was fans of the president bought the stock. It was, in effect, a donation, and they kept the prices up. So the Trump Media and Technology Group, the parent company of Truth Social, is according to the Wall Street Journal. When did this come out? This was updated 8 hours ago. Said in a securities filing it had issued 36 million new shares, diluting, by the way, just in case you don't understand how the market works, your shares, if you bought some, to give to the former president. The stock closed Tuesday at $49 per share, meaning the bonus had a value of just under $1.8 billion before trading open this morning. This morning, by the way, shares down 8% because you could fool some of the people some of the time. But you can't fool all of the people.
Dilute the rest of the time.
All of the time. Trump was eligible for the earnout bonus because the stock stayed above $17.50 for 20 consecutive days. He now owns 114 million shares in the company. His total stake has a market value of $5.7 billion, but you're right, that's paper, right? Unless, I think it's possible, I'm not sure, but I got the sense that it's possible, perhaps, for the board to do something about that. I don't know. The DJT, the stock went public in March with that SPAC, has been on a strong run lately. It gained more than 50% in the past 5 days. Closed Tuesday at its highest price since April 2nd. So sometimes, a stock is worth money even if the company itself is hemorrhaging money somehow magically.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to understand about the stock market is it's untethered from reality in mysterious and ineffable ways.
It's, I think DJT is the ultimate meme stock, right?
I mean, GameStop is the ultimate meme stock, but DJT is close.
It's right up there. It's right up there.
Yeah.
Did you see that the founder of Twilio, Jeff Lawson, just bought the Onion from Go
and installed Ben Collins, former disinformation reporter extraordinaire, as CEO. Yeah,
I didn't see that. Yeah. Congratulations,
Ben Collins is a brilliant reporter.
Fantastic.
And they didn't know each other, and they just tied together and made this happen. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
But is Ben Collins funny?
Yeah, Ben is funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he is. And he's direct. Do you know, Paris, do you know why or when Ben left NBC? Because I thought he was getting very frank, and I'm surprised. But I'm surprised that he's still there, and then he wasn't there.
I mean, I think it was somewhat recent. I don't know off the top of my head. But I think as this was in the works.
Ben actually was the catalyst for the deal. So Geo introduced Lawson to someone else who had gotten in touch with the company about the Onion, Ben Collins, 36, a former NBC reporter. This is from this site called The Information, and Daily Beast editor, who had put together a small group of young media executives interested in taking over the Onion. He was worried that Musk might try to buy the Onion. He apparently did try to buy it 10 years ago. I did not know this. Thank God he didn't get it. Collins said, "I was worried it could go into the wrong hands, and I couldn't imagine this upcoming election without the Onion." So Lawson didn't know Collins, but knew of him. They hit it off. And, of course, Lawson provided a missing piece for the plan. The filthy lucre.
One of my favorite parts about this story, though, is when they at first announced that the Onion had been sold, they didn't give any information. Geo Media didn't give any information to the staff about who had bought it. And this sent kind of reporters everywhere scrambling a bit to try and figure out who it was. They eventually found the name of the buyer. It was this company called Global Tetrahedron. Yeah. And then people were like, wait a second. Global Tetrahedron is the name of the fictitious corporation the Onion has been using in its articles for years whenever they want to do a bit about an evil company buying something and doing ill. And so Ben and Lawson essentially said that they made this company as a bit to be the parent company of their new version
Here's
of
the
The Onion, which I
website.
think really shows.
They get it.
Go to the
Yeah.
website, global-tetrahedron.com. Global Tetrahedron was born of the shadows and is committed to control in all its forms. Committed to the conquest of mortality since its foundation in 1634, providing strategic counsel for top human trafficking enterprises, large-scale embezzlement services, and covert assassination requests. We are pragmatic, focused, bloodthirsty, and fanatical. Our values, unrelenting. Our strong talons will rip the flesh from our victims' bones in order to feed it to our freshly hatched young. Temptation, the flesh, it glistens. And on and on and on. Global Tetrahedron by the numbers, 14 billion NDAs signed, 60 billion hours of labor exploited, and on and on and on. I can't read the rest of it because it's obscene. So that is good. I hope The Onion stays
They're
funny.
bringing back the news program that they have.
Oh,
Good.
really?
They're going to be doing video. They're going to be expanding
spend
to doing a subscription
Jeff's
service.
money.
They are like really revitalizing the company. I'm really excited about
I wanted to bring back print. I'm very, very, very proud that I am in the last print edition of The Onion.
Collins would like to resume
you
production
are?
of a
Yes.
printed version of The Onion. So that is on the roadmap.
Whoa.
What was
It was a newspapers are dying joke.
Oh.
classic.
I miss The Onion. I love The Onion.
It's still around.
Well, but somebody told me, first of all, I haven't gone there in a while, and I certainly haven't seen it memed in a while, right?
Have you guys? Do you guys read Hard Drive News?
No. Is that a new Onion?
Yeah, Hard Drive. Hard-drive.net. It's like a kind of gaming tech focused version of The Onion. So, for instance, the top article on Hard Drive right now is "Anime Girl Buys Lonely Nerd Body Pillow."
Kind of a reverse on the actual truth.
Yeah.
So The Onion is still doing it. Here's their headline this today. Tesla lays off entire team behind brakes. Which isn't so far from the truth. They did, in fact, lay off their entire supercharger team, which is weird.
Yeah. And their policy team.
Oh, and their
They're
policy
in
team.
policy trouble. Yep. That's down there. There's a lot of musky news down below where it belongs.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Let's, everything down below should always be musky, and we're going to go down below as we continue. Here's a tease. In just a moment, you're watching This Week in Google with Paris Martineau from The Information. You're working on a big story. You were almost late because you had a big interview, right?
I was in the office today, which I am not normally.
And
So
how
I had
was
to
President
be in
Biden?
Manhattan.
Did he?
Yeah. He was a little surprised to be going from Howard Stern to me
Paris
at
Martineau,
The
I don't know
Information,
why.
But I don't know. I think it could just be sexism. So
Yeah,
we're gonna really get into that
undoubtedly.
in the interview.
Did he sniff your hair?
He had kind of a hard time finding it, but he eventually got
Oh
there.
God, we shouldn't. And that's Jeff Jarvis, Professor Emeritus.
I'm shocked.
Shocked.
at this talk.
Did you watch the correspondence dinner?
Yeah, so I recorded it, and the next morning I fast forwarded through like 3 hours
Yeah.
before I got to anything.
Yeah.
And then I watched the
Colin
2 parts
Colin
that matter.
Jost. Yeah. The president
I hate
and Colin Jost.
I hate the correspondence dinner. I hate
Yeah,
it
you
with
know,
passion.
it made me
But
hate
I
it.
needed to watch it.
Yeah. It's for a good
but I thought
cause,
they were both
right?
very good. Yeah, and the New York Times, still snotty about the Howard interview, also went after Jost and said he fell flat, which I think was BS. Did you watch it?
Yeah, he
I've
wasn't.
never watched the correspondence.
He wasn't
dinner and never will.
hysterical. He wasn't.
But he was good.
He was okay. A lot of jokes fell pretty flat. The audience was nervous.
That's a horrible audience.
Can I say they were a little nervous? They didn't
Yeah.
want to laugh too hard at some of the jokes. They were afraid somebody's paying attention. Anyway, great to have Jeff and Paris, and I'm so glad you stuck around, even though this show has really gotten terrible. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Don't go away. Don't go away.
That has to be the saddest outro
It's so
we've ever
sad.
done.
It's so
It
sad.
is. Jeez.
I feel like I'm disappointing people when we You know, we start.
You got to put on a front, Leo. You got to be like, nah, this is great.
Well, I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I mean, the reason we're doing it is because you and I and Jeff are enjoying ourselves.
We're having a fun time.
Like it's
Hopefully other people are having fun too.
It's just the three of us. And our fine sponsors, which we are so happy to have here, including Delete Me. This is something you do need. You just heard these companies are selling our information right and left. Data brokers are selling it right and left. You've got to protect yourself. If you ever search for your name online, oh my God, look what I found. A picture of me. Oh, no, this is the page. Delete Me. If you ever search for your name online and you don't like how much of your personal information is available, it is chilling. In fact, I don't recommend doing it. But I do tell you that if you do, you will be shocked. And it's not just a personal concern. It's a business concern. If you have a company, anybody who manages people needs to use Delete Me. We do because bad guys will get that information and they'll use it to do spear phishing attacks against you. They have done that to us. That's why we've been using Delete Me for a couple of years. Immediately got it for Lisa. You should also consider it a family affair. Protecting your whole family is the way to ensure everyone in the family feels safe online. Get a Delete Me family plan. It helps reduce risk from identity theft, cybersecurity threats, harassment, and more. Delete Me's experts will find and remove your information from hundreds of data brokers. You can assign a unique data sheet to each family member tailored to them. With easy-to-use controls, account managers can manage privacy settings for the whole family. Delete Me will continue to scan and remove your information regularly. That's important because even though they'll take this information down, these evil data brokers, as soon as they get another bite of information from another source, they'll start putting it back up again. They build up that dossier very quickly. So Delete Me continues to scan and remove information regularly. We're talking addresses, photos, emails, relatives, phone numbers, social media, property values, and more. Protect yourself, reclaim your privacy. Visit joindeleteme.com/twit. Use the code TWIT for 20% off. That's joindeleteme.com/twit. Use the code TWIT for 20% off. It really works. We use it. Thank you, Delete Me, for supporting this week in Google. All righty. You said there's a lot of muskiness below the line.
Well, just basically, it's an amusing compilation here.
Okay.
Because at the same time that lawsuits Tesla claim that drivers are solely responsible for crashes. So Tesla's saying, "Oh, our car drives itself, and if it doesn't, it's your fault."
Well, that we're going to elaborate on that. That is your responsibility. You're driving that car. Keep your hand on the wheel and your eyes on the road.
Well, yeah, but he also oversells this.
He oversells
it on its own.
He oversells it, so it's important for us to say full self-driving is not fully self-driving. It is assist, right. And
but
really
he doesn't say that.
No, and I have to say I used it all the time, and believe me, I didn't.
Nightmare.
No, it's not a nightmare. You just got to pay attention. Here's an example. Here's a dash cam footage from 2 years ago showing a Tesla driving the wrong way on a highway in Tennessee. But you understand, the car doesn't know. It sees the lines. It thinks it's a two-way highway. It isn't. It isn't. But that's where a human has to make that,
But also, it's Musk is overselling it.
Yes,
and
I agree.
And this should be regulated. It shouldn't be even possible to do because it's going to do things like that.
Right.
It's just like LLMs don't know facts. It doesn't know what side of the road it's supposed to be on. So then the next story is Tesla's autopilot linked to more crashes even after massive recall. And the next story is Musk wins China's backing for Tesla's driver assistance service. So there's
a real amuse-bouche here, a Musk-bouche.
Well,
yeah.
Look, the only thing that is wrong is the assertion that this car drives itself. Now, I understand that it's their marketing. But anybody who's driven...
And the pedals on the Cybertruck.
Well, they use soap. Okay, fine. They're a little slippery. But they fixed it. They asked for them back. I would not buy a Tesla again.
They asked for them back. They did a recall.
They fixed it. But I've the last 3 or 4 cars I've driven have had very similar ADAS driver assist systems. And even though they don't say, BMW doesn't say full self-driving, And by the way, Ford and BMW both, unlike Tesla, have a camera behind the wheels looking at you and will really nudge you if you go, like, look away from the car. You're expected to hold on to the wheel. And I guess actually in a couple of cases with Blue Cruise, you don't have to. Or the BMW self-driving, you don't have to. But you have to keep your eyes on the road. And honestly, anybody who's paying attention is going to keep their sweaty little palms on the steering wheel because it's a computer. It does dumb things. A car merges in front of you. It doesn't slow down right away because it doesn't see it right away. Sometimes a car will try to it's following the lanes, but if the lanes veer off on an off-ramp, sometimes it'll suddenly veer off on the off-ramp. You're still responsible for your car. And I would assume that Beijing will tell Elon, you can't call it whatever the Chinese equivalent is of self-driving. I would hope so. It's interesting.
State-driven.
State-driven.
Chinese officials told Tesla that Beijing has tentatively approved the company's plan to launch its full self-driving software feature in the country.
But that's what the journal's calling it. I don't know what the Chinese government's calling it, right? Well, we'll see. They have they have extra people in China. Actually, they don't. Their birth rate's fallen. They can't afford to lose anybody. So, Elizabeth Spires writing in the New York Times. Your favorite journal, Jeff?
They have some very good people. She is one of them. She is a friend, and she's great. She was the original Gawker.
That strange piece of metal origami embodies all of Elon Musk's flaws. What is she talking about? Oh, the Cybertruck. Yeah.
I saw one in the wild. It is just ludicrous.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the person driving it and say, do you know how foolish you look driving this thing?
You probably get punched.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that screenshot from the old video game? That is the car is exactly the same design as the
Yes, I have. It's like a strange looking car.
It's not even original?
I mean, I don't know if it was based on that, but it's just more how odd the Cybertruck looks,
Right.
that it looks like a janky old video game car.
Though Spires writes, though it fits the technical definition of a truck, it has a bed. The vehicle looks more like an origami version of an El Camino. That's about right, yeah.
she's so
Mr.
good.
Musk suggests its stainless steel exterior might be bulletproof. Some owners say it rusts. It's not unusual for new car and truck models to have some flaws, but the Cybertruck, which has sold only 4,000 units, was recalled because of, well, we talked about it, the accelerator had a little sticking problem, just a little bit.
A little problem where the accelerator
sticking.
pedal gets stuck in the thing in front of it and gets stuck all the way pushed down, so you can't stop accelerating. One of those little problems.
Just a wee one.
But
it's your fault. It's your fault, driver, for not
had this
knowing that
problem.
and stopping that.
Well, we had this problem with the Model X. I mean, I look, Lisa would never let me buy
What?
another
You
Tesla.
had a problem where the car wouldn't stop accelerating?
No.
And you continued to drive the car?
Actually, Lisa did have that problem. And we called them and they said, no, you were on a hill.
Leo!
It was just
Why?
Some owners have gotten an alert that the vehicle may suddenly lose electrical power, steering, and propulsion. Most electric vehicles can do that. You might want to watch your fingers, she writes, with the frunk and doors. They don't have industry standard sensors. Now,
By frunk, he means front trunk, by the way,
yeah.
in case you don't know what frunk
Yeah,
means.
with
like
the hip
me.
kids. The Model X we had those falcon wing doors that open like birds' wings, and they didn't have sensors on the bottom. So I kept hitting Lisa in the head when I would close the doors. So
no.
we got to the point where I would have to shout, "I'm closing the door! Stand back!" And she hated it. She called the car Christine after the Stephen King evil car thing. Anyway, yeah,
Read the penultimate paragraph.
The penultimate paragraph.
Fancy when
the
fancy when you
Cybertruck
use
is a
that word.
manifestation of Musk's immaturity, both as a person and as a chief executive. It is futuristic in a way that is adolescent and unprincipled. It is reflective of a mentality that says rejecting expertise is appealingly subversive instead of plainly dangerous. It is not yet ready to exist in the adult world. I have to agree with her on that.
I found a game. It's called Car Builder version 2.02.
Car?
Oh, wow.
Oh, that really is it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's exactly the Cybertruck.
When was this from?
Oh, that's
It's an
amazing.
old game from like the 80s.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, little Elon played it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, that's like, you know what? But that's like a Rosebud moment.
Yes. That would be a great.
you've
We
found-
should make a Citizen Musk movie. It would be a great
Oh,
movie. And that could be the whole thing.
he had to remake this car in the game that he could never win.
Cyber.
I think the whole thing was like that this design was like the best aerodynamics in the game. So I guess he might believe that it's actually the truth.
Yeah, right. You see? All right. I don't want to pile on.
Also,
Elon.
in the last week, there were significant layoffs at Tesla. They laid off around like 500 employees at least, and 2 senior Tesla executives ended up departing after their departments were dissolved. One of those departments, the executives were the senior director of the company's supercharger group and the head of new products. And it's really interesting. My colleague, Becky Peterson, reported today, just as we were literally recording this podcast, that the executives in charge of the supercharger team had reassured the team, no, nothing's going on. There's going to be no cuts. Just days before all the cuts came. So it seems like it was completely out of left field.
Yeah, they didn't know either. That happens a lot. Your job is safe. 2 days later, you're fired. 500 people were overseeing the supercharger network. I could see cutting that to 100, but he fired everybody.
It's interesting. He had made the supercharge executive his direct report, Elon did, just 2 weeks before he fired her.
You're safe. No, you're not.
This is Rebecca Tanucci, who was also fired. The thing is, this was the single smartest thing I think that Elon did with the Tesla, because the number one concern to this day people have about electric vehicles is how do I charge it? And the current charging infrastructure in the United States is not very good. It's terrible, with the exception of the superchargers. And Elon knew, in fact, it was part of his original mission statement, that in order for an electric vehicle to sell well, you had to have an infrastructure to support it. You had to have chargers everywhere. So he did that. He built those. And that's one of the reasons Tesla succeeded so well. It's one of the reasons I bought one. I waited to buy one until there was a supercharger in Petaluma. Now, it turned out I learned, and most people do learn, that you charge at home, and so you don't really need a supercharger unless you're going on a long trip, but then you do need it. But it was the crown jewel, so much so that it was only a few months ago that all the other electric car manufacturers decided to use the supercharger standard. And Elon said, yeah, you can use our superchargers. This
reminds me,
a huge success for him.
Your Tesla charger at home and battery at home, were you able to use that on your Mustang?
Yeah.
And on Lisa's electric car?
So
Okay.
it isn't a Tesla charger. So, you know what? I'm going to do a public service announcement right here, right now.
Can you do the voice?
I don't know. What is the voice?
I don't know, like a public, like a public PSA.
Pretend that I'm
sort of voice.
one of those slideshows.
You're
that they
wearing
show
a
in
full
school.
like beige suit.
Film.
It's kind of like a faded film, and you spin around in your cozy chair, and you're like, "Hey, folks! Today
Hey,
I'm
folks.
here to talk to you about."
Can we have a conversation about home charging? There's two kinds of home
Yeah,
charging.
that's more like you're selling us life insurance.
Listen, I like it though.
Have you considered
good.
a reverse mortgage? You know,
There you
you can get the equity in your home and never have to move out. So you can, if you plug it into your regular socket, your 120 volt socket, that's what they call level 1 charging. The problem is it will take several days to charge up your battery. You can do that. In fact, Chevy Bolts come with a level 1 charger. It's a plug that you plug into the wall, but it's useless because it's so slow. In order to charge an electric vehicle in a reasonable amount of time, you have to send it a lot of watts. And the fast chargers, it's Tesla superchargers, and the Electrify America chargers send many, many volts. You know, we're talking, I think, 135 kilovolts of power to car so that they can charge it up to 80% in about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. At home, you don't have to really send so much voltage because you're going to probably have it overnight, right? You're going to get home, you're going to plug it in, you're going to have dinner, you go to bed and wake up in the morning, it'll be full. So that's called a level 2 charger. Level 2 charger is on a 220 circuit, but it's the same plug as your dryer plug. It's that big NEMA 1540 dryer plug. You probably have one in your house somewhere, Jeff, or an RV.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have it for RVs.
Yeah, we grown-ups have those things. We have 220.
Yes.
You're
So you have these
you're
big,
still a 110
these big dryer
gal.
plugs. But in the basement of your building, the dryers, if they're electric, will be plugged into something like that. So
yeah,
so
the
I don't-
dryers in my building.
Yeah. You don't have dryers in your building? You have to go to a laundromat
I have a lot of
like
laundry
an animal?
facility.
Oh, my God.
I've got to
Anyway.
do drop off even. There's not a laundromat.
Oh, yeah. Wash
anyway,
and fold.
continue.
Wash and fold, baby. My life changed when I discovered wash and fold. But anyway, that's another story.
It's life changing.
It is life changing. It is amazing, and damn the expense. I'm doing it. But anyway, we had an electrician come in and put those big RV 1540s in, and then there's a picture of it in the Discord. Then you have in your car comes with something usually that you can plug into that. If not, you can buy something that will plug into that, and then you plug into your car. So when I pull up, I literally plug my car in to something that is plugged into that NEMA 1540, and it charges it up at a level 2 charge, which means that it takes a few hours. It would take overnight to fill it up from zero, but you're never at zero. Usually it's 20, 30, 40 miles worth of range. That's just a couple hours. So that's the way to do it. You very rarely need these superchargers. Nevertheless, it was brilliant marketing because it reassured people, oh, great, I can go on a road trip. Because otherwise, with a car, you say, well, I'll just stop at the gas station. In Providence, when I was charging, there are 15 gas stations for every electric charger. So
Wait, you got an electric rental car?
yeah, that was living.
Wow.
I loved that. That was great. I had a Kia. But the rental car people, you know how when you get a rental car, you have 3 choices of fuel. You can fill it up. And
Do you have to return it charged?
Yeah. You have to return it
No.
70% or higher. Yeah. Isn't that hysterical?
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So before I came back to Logan, to Boston's airport from Providence, I had to find the one, and there is only one in Providence, Electrify America charger. That was a scene because it turns out these Electrify America, this is part of the problem. This was part of the settlement, Volkswagen in Dieselgate. Remember they got dinged because they were cheating on diesel emission tests? The car would say, oh, I'm on one of those dynamometers. I'm gonna really be low emission. But in real world, they were horrible polluters. So they got caught. It was called Dieselgate. And among many fines they had to pay, they agreed to spend billions of dollars putting electrical infrastructure in the United States with something called Electrify America. But the problem with it is that these chargers are never maintained. They often don't work. And here's something I learned in the rain in Providence, Rhode Island. I got out of my car, and there's a charger, and it has, like a gas station, 2 things. And I thought, oh, well, one of them's in use. That means I can use the other one. Turns out, only one of them can be used at a time.
No.
No.
There's no sign. It's weird.
You
One
have
of
to
them.
figure it out, trial and error.
Oh, I'll tell you, I figured it out. I plugged mine in, and the other people's went, and then they came running back saying, what happened? And I said, I plugged in my car. They said, oh, yeah, you didn't know you can only do one at a time. I felt really bad. They were very nice. I apologized. There was a hand-printed, like, hi, my name is sticker on one of them that said one at a time. But all the rest, you had to know that. And then there's this jostling to use it because there's only 4 in the whole state of Rhode Island. And so everybody's kind of, waiting and like zipping in to get
That's
in
what
there.
worries me is that you're going to get into a knife fight.
No. The good news is, at least for now, people who drive EVs are all pretty nice. So I actually met some very nice people. Had some wonderful conversations. And in fact,
no. Tesla drivers are right up there with BMW drivers as jerks.
hey, I'm a BMW driver, and I used to drive a Tesla. And I hate Howard Stern. So now what do you say?
So
yeah.
there you are.
I drive with my BMW window rolled down, and I shout as I'm going, "I hate you, Howard Stern, I hate you." Anyway, this is a big problem in the United States.
One day he'll hear you.
And it's bizarre.
Howard Stern, a big problem in the United States?
It's bizarre that Elon would fire the crown jewel of Teslas. I think he is a little self-destructive. Can I be frank?
Think?
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. He said Tesla still plans, he tweeted this or X'd it on Shitter, his website. He said Tesla still plans, I say that, not SH, but X. Tesla still plans to grow, Jitter. Tesla still plans to grow the supercharger network just at a slower pace for new locations and more focus on 100% uptime and expansion of existing locations. But Elon, you just fired the entire team. How are you planning to do it? You're going to do that yourself? I don't understand. I just don't get it. I hope one day, Elon tweets, superchargers have malls and cafes so I can X while charging my Cybertruck. Oh, no, that's an Elon Musk parody. Never mind. Never mind. He didn't respond to anybody.
I can sit there and watch it rust.
Yes.
And then cut off a finger.
Here he is in China showing his Chinese overlords what a great
he's so awful.
Dancer he is.
God.
He does dance like a dad.
He says, "Oh my
Hey.
I dance
As
better than
dads, we object.
Also, I don't wear T-shirts over long sleeve button-down shirts. I just want you to know. Wow, he didn't stop. He's still dancing. He's Elon Musk, the dancing machine. She says, "Please take the microphone, please."
Yep.
He actually took his jacket off and threw it to her so he could do more dancing. Read the room, Elon. Look at this woman on the right. She doesn't know what to make of it.
They're laughing at you, Elon, not with you.
Look at this. Look at this. He's going to throw her his jacket. Oh.
Like a striptease.
Oh.
Everyone's clapping over there to the left.
Oh.
They're paid to. Paris, they're paid to.
Do you think...
North Korea.
Okay. Tesla,
Oh, boy.
China
It
made
keeps
Model 3.
going.
It doesn't end. Much like this show. Okay.
Remember when you were like, I've got a hard out at the beginning of this?
I do.
17 years ago.
We're going to stop soon. Supreme Court has declined to, this is interesting, to block the Texas pornography age verification provision.
This is scary.
The challenge was that challenge made by the Free Speech Coalition, which is, to be fair, a pornography industry trade group. The challenge said that the 2023 Texas law violates the First Amendment because before you can use their platforms, their pornography platforms, everybody, not just kids, but everybody has to submit personal information, age verification. And of course, we've said this many times, that's the problem with these systems. That, yeah, it limits children's access, but it means your privacy is completely gone.
Worked.
And of course,
there's a master list of everybody who wants to watch porn.
Yeah, and of course, that's exactly what the people who pass these laws want. They want porn to be illegal. They know they can't do that, so this is the next best thing. Supreme Court has refused yesterday to block on free speech grounds that provision. So they turned away a request.
Did they just refuse to hear it?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yep. They did not grant certiorari.
Yeah, more cause for nihilism.
Maybe that's the problem, is that
provide.
Because I feel obligated in this show to cover the actual news, what's really going on, it's just hard to be happy.
Yeah, it is, until you realize that
The AI overlords
everything
are coming?
is meaningless. We are just brains in the vats of our own bodies interpreting signals, and everything around us, from podcasts to familial relationships to language. It's just something humanity made up to distract ourselves from our coming death.
Is this? Are you more of a Matrix or a Nick Bostrom on this simulation hypothesis? Which on the scale are machines keeping us alive as batteries, as in the Matrix? No.
I don't think so. I think that we're just brains in the vats of our own bodies, and
that's true.
We're it's just a description of what is happening. It's not any grand
it's not even a
simulation theory. No, there's nothing crazy going on.
I like to think that actually this is some sort of, one might say torture, one might say challenge that I set for myself 67 years ago, and I said, all right, you're gonna get born and you're gonna go through this thing, and that at some point,
you're gonna be a podcast.
You're gonna be a podcast. At some point, I will die, and then I'll wake up and go, boy, that was crappy. Let's not do that again. Can we play a different game today?
Oh, Leo, that's so sad.
No, I'm very happy. There was a who was it? Was it Heidegger? Some German philosopher said that gave a challenge.
Ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Ask Gemini.
I don't know how to ask. The premise is,
what is your question?
They said this. I think it was Heidegger, or it might have been Wittgenstein, or it might have been Nietzsche. I don't know. Said, would you, if given the option, want to relive your life, but you don't get to change anything? Do it exactly as it. Repeat it exactly as it was, but only this time with the awareness. Would you do that?
I think that's Nietzsche's eternal recurrence.
It is. Very good. She's better than ChatGPT.
Nietzsche, she exactly writes Meta.ai. He proposed it in his book, The Gay Science.
It's my favorite.
Die Fröhliche Wissenschaft in 1881. The question is eternal recurrence and goes like this. If you knew that you would have to relive your life exactly as it is with all its sufferings and joys, would you still live it? So what's your answers?
Yeah. I think that I would prefer that rather than something that terrifies me existentially is the idea of like being put back as like a child with all the knowledge I have now, but things being different because of the knowledge I have and decisions I make. Because I'm happy with where my life is now. And I know that I would somehow screw it up.
See,
it's very funny that you brought this
up,
Leo, because I have the longest running tab I have on my phone that I've had in my phone since November and have yet to fully read is a New Yorker article about Nietzsche's eternal return.
No kidding. No kidding. Wow.
No kidding. It's on here.
I would absolutely live my life to 27.
That's the thing. She's only 27.
Exactly.
See, that's the thing. That's the test. You're gonna have some ups and downs, and you may not want to go through those ups and downs again. You know, I would.
Listen, I'm not saying it would be good. I'm just saying it'd be better than
the alternative.
Than the alternative of, I guess, not having lived at all or having to do it all over again with strange, potentially different, worse or better results. That terrifies me more. This has been Paris' philosophy.
I've been thinking about this for years, and I'm not sure where I come down on this. Lately, I think I would like to do it again. But for a while, I was thinking, no, that would be painful. This is in Thus Spoke Zarathustra as well, I believe. In Ecce Homo, he says, I now wish to relate the history of Zarathustra. The fundamental idea of the work, the eternal recurrence, the highest formula of a yes saying to life that can never be attained, was first conceived in the month of 1881. I made a note of the idea on a sheet of paper with the postscript, 6,000 feet beyond man and time. I don't know what that means. I think I would live it again.
This
How
is the
about
great
you,
thing
Jeff?
about this show.
You never know.
We have a little
you never
detour
know.
to Nietzsche.
Yeah. I want to read this New Yorker article now. That's good.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. I came across
you have a subscription, Paris?
Not to the New Yorker. No, I need to. I've subscribed to many other magazines.
Me too.
I frankly need to renew my subscription to the New Yorker. This could be the thing that pushes me.
I have subscribed to the New Yorker my whole life, practically. And you know what? When I went to my mom to visit my mom, and all her New Yorkers were there on the side table.
The pile of guilt?
No, it was only 3 or 4. I brought them over to her, and she was very happy to get them.
Oh.
So, Burke, I think, says he doesn't want to go through this life again. He says, you're just torturing yourself, and this is all in caps, by even considering that you could actually live another earlier lifetime. No, not an earlier lifetime. This lifetime.
No, it's a later lifetime.
Over and over and over again. Live the life you have now again is what we're talking about. Yes.
Did that inspire Groundhog Day? Is there
I
an
guess
origin
maybe,
story to
huh?
Groundhog Day?
Yeah, I guess maybe.
I'm going to just Google Groundhog Day Nietzsche and see
That's what I'm
what
about to
comes
do.
up.
Ask ChatGPT. This is the kind of thing, though, that a chat would not be helpful with. These are deep questions.
Adventuresinfilmtheory.org says Groundhog Day is not, in all caps, a depiction of Nietzsche's eternal recurrence.
Oh.
It cannot be, and Bill Murray better hope not.
Oh, you know why? Because he changes it every time and gets better and better.
It's true.
He refines it. And that was one of the primary pillars of all this is you can't change it. You're going to live the same exact life.
Groundhog Day
Let's
is
see.
Buddhism.
Danny Rubin,
He's going through the wheel.
Danny Rubin, who wrote Groundhog Day, said the question that inspired the script was, if a person could live forever, if a person was immortal, how would they change over time? And that is the antithesis of eternal recurrence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's. I want to do one more happy story. I like to end with a happy story. Do you know Bruce Perens? By any chance, Jeff, you're old enough to remember Bruce, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the creators of the Usenet news groups. I met him, I think, at an event at John Perry Barlow's, and we were talking about self-driving vehicles. He was this was years ago, very up on self-driving vehicles. He is a very interesting fellow. Article today last week in the Register. No, I'm sorry, it was yesterday. I've done 2 impossible things, he says. Although, of course, I wasn't the only one behind them. The first was getting the world to buy into open source. He was a huge open source advocate. The second was convincing the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, and the governments of most countries worldwide to give up the Morse code test for ham radio licenses. Bruce, I owe you one because I would never become a ham if I'd had to do dit, 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 dot, dot, dot.
I didn't know it was no longer required.
No, yeah, it makes it a lot easier. Trust me. I loved that. That was the only reason I could do it. His third gambit, according to Thomas Claiborne, writing in the Register, perhaps more correctly characterized as improbable, is to develop a license that mitigates the consequences of open source software development. So as you know, much of our infrastructure in the world teeters on a tiny little sliver of open source software maintained by some guy in Nebraska who gets no money and no credit for doing that.
As depicted in that
XKCD. Very good. You recognize that. What's happened, of course, and we've learned this again and again, is that these guys have retired, lost interest. Malicious actors have, in some cases, taken over. We just saw that recently. So what he wants to do is create what's called the post-open zero-cost license that, in effect, is a paid license to support open source developers. So they get paid when their work gets used by large corporations. Right now, large corporations frequently free ride on open source developers who are just doing it for fun. We're just doing it because it's interesting. And there's a lot of software out there that's like that. He wants a license, kind of like the compulsory licenses for music, so that people get paid. Companies making more than $5 million a year using open software, using this new license, will be required to pay 1% of their revenue back to the administrative organization, which will be like ASCAP BMI, and then we'll distribute it to the maintainers. I love this idea. And considering all the amazing things Bruce Perens has done, I hope that he has some success with this one. He's been working on for a while on it. Bruce, you know what? I'll see if we can get Bruce on the show. He's a very cool, very interesting, and kind of quirky guy. He's the kind, he's one of the early pioneers, kind of like Barlow, the early pioneers of all of this.
We miss Barlow.
We do. We do. All right, let's take a little time out, and then when we come back, we can wrap this up with your picks of the week. How about that, Paris Martineau? What do you say to that, huh?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. The break today is to ask you, our fabulous audience, to join the best darn club in the world. If you want to talk about Nietzsche's Eternal Return, or the original
Tech news,
or tech news, or the original design of the Cybertruck as seen in a game, a video game, or any kind of nerdy stuff, comic books, beer, we've got a place for you. It's our Club Twit. Now, almost 15,000 strong. People who, I was being a little optimistic. Almost 12,000 strong. People who love what we do, want to support it with their $7 a month, who get ad-free versions of all the shows, who get additional content, like the Twit Plus feed. We put some great stuff on the Twit Plus feed, like this time we had the Escape Box. That was a lot of fun. We've got some coming up, too. You also get access to the Discord, where you could chat with other club members. Look, it's rare that you find a place where there are people like you who like to talk about the stuff you like to talk about, who are there day and night from all over the world. That's what Club Twit is. So, yeah, ostensibly, the $7 goes to support our mission here and create new shows and all of that. But you're also getting access to a really great group of people, and it's only $7 a month. Twit.tv/ClubTwit. We thank you so much for your support. We love our club members. We really do. And we are planning more events for you, so don't worry. Thank you for your support. And if you're not a member, twit.tv/ClubTwit. Thank you.
Hey, and if 5% of you guys subscribe to Club Twit, then Leo would have no reason to be really depressed anymore.
That's really kind of true, actually. Cheer me up. Join the club. It's sort of true. Advertising is really a tough way to go. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And actually,
this morning, go ahead.
It's harder on my wife because she's the one who's selling the ads. But I have to go home to her, and I feel sad. I want to make it a little easier on her. Yeah, we have less than 2%. We only need 5%. We have about 750,000 people listen every month. If 15,000 of you joined, we'd be great. We would be able to make new shows. We'd be able to stay in the studio. We keep the lights on. Everything would be great. So help us out.
Really, people, please,
I beg of you.
So I keynoted an ad conference this morning after my event yesterday.
Wow.
Big conference week for you, Jeff. And you did another podcast today?
Yeah. I rushed home to do so. I stayed in New York for 2 days, I was like a tourist in New York.
Wow. Where'd you stay?
At a loft.
Hey, Lisa and I are coming to New York in September.
Oh, yeah.
We're going on vacation.
Can we do it in person? Oh, no, you're going on vacation.
Oh, no. No, Lisa's already said we're going to have a meetup in New York City in September. So keep the month clear. And I hope that we can go to dinner with you guys and hang out, and you can join us in the meetup. I know there are lots of people in New York would like to meet you guys. Mary Jo Foley will come. We'll get a bunch of our regulars out there. We've done this before, and it's really fun. Yeah. So stay tuned for dates and information, but I've got the clearance from the boss to have a meetup in New York City. I'm not sure exactly on the dates, but I guess I could look here. Let me tell you in a second. Roughly when it would be. I can tell you the week it would be, so you can save the date, like a wedding.
Yes, right? We'll put this in
That's great. You should send a fancy card.
Yeah, save the date. It's in my travel notebook. Upcoming travel. We are going to be in New York. We're leaving on the 9th, so it'll be the first week, probably the 5th through the 9th, something like that. Probably right after Labor Day.
Oh, you're leaving town. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we're going on a cruise from New York to Montreal on an autumn leaves tour.
Oh,
yeah,
cute.
So that the boat leaves September 9th. So it'll have to be.
So then do you fly back from Montreal, or do you? Do you come back to New York?
And we're going to be in Montreal for a little bit. Maybe I said let's do a meetup in Montreal. She said no. So we'll at least do.
That's vacation.
That's what she said. We'll at least do. So we're sailing on a Monday, and Labor Day is the 3rd. So it'll probably be the 4th, 5th, or 6th, maybe the 7th, possibly the 8th.
One of those days.
So you're in my calendar, Lisa.
First week of September, and all the rest of you too. keep that clear. We'll be in Manhattan. We'll try to go to the new Rattle and Hum or somewhere fun we can all hang out.
I think given the current budgeting, I think I have a good a cheap burrito place we can go to.
Yeah, that might be a better idea. Paris, your pick of the week.
So a couple weeks ago when we talked about the release of Sora, the AI generative video tool, one of they, during the kind of announcement of it, had a lot of different kind of video producers and studios make cute little demonstration videos using Sora's tools. One of the videos going around was the short film called Airhead, which I think we talked about briefly.
Oh, yeah, the balloon
about, like
thing.
a boy with a balloon head. It was pretty cool.
Right.
It had like the balloon guy like biking and walking around, did like a wry voiceover. There was this cool scene where like he talked about how one of the hardest things about being a guy with a balloon head was like windy days, and it had a video of his head like flying away. And it was all made by Gemini. Like, awesome, right? Except for it wasn't.
Tell me.
There was this great interview by FX Guide that, I mean, yes, the stuff that is the base components of this video were generated by Sora, but they had to do a lot of post-production to fix all of the mistakes.
It's very lifelike. I find it hard to believe that the guy on the bicycle, these just look too real.
It's interesting. So, I mean, if you scroll down in this, they've got some example screenshots. Not that. That's the behind the scenes video. Scroll down further. There's a lot of different. That is one of them.
They put a face in the balloon. Ew.
A lot of creepy different things that happened where they were trying to get certain shots and they would. Here, I'll read from it. For Airhead, the scenes were made by generating multiple clips to an approximate script, but there was no explicit way to have the actual yellow balloon head the same from shot to shot. Sometimes, when the team prompted for a yellow balloon, it wouldn't even be yellow. Other times, it had a face embedded in it, or a face seemingly drawn on the front of the balloon. As many balloons have strings, often the Airhead character, named Sunny, the balloon guy, would have a string down the front of the character's shirt. Sometimes, like the classic scene that I think at least stuck with me from the video, which was the balloon head being blown away in the wind. It couldn't even get that right. The actual thing that Sora generated was a dude with a normal head and a red balloon nearby. So they had to erase the head in post and add a yellow balloon there. So, I mean, I think it just goes to show it's not fully up to snuff yet. And the thing that I find frustrating...
It's not AGI? Are you telling me it's not AGI, Paris?
It's not
going to take over our
machine.
lives and destroy the world?
I mean, I think the thing is, it should be fine to just say, this isn't at full AGI, whatever that means, capacity yet. It is an interesting, novel tool, but there's no reason to overhype it to where people get disappointed when they learn about what's under the hood.
Just like Tesla's.
My attitude towards this is it may never be. But isn't this great that humans can work with a machine?
Yes.
And I mean, I think the most valuable use of AI is in conjunction with a human. So I don't think there's anything to apologize for. I do wish they'd say it up front.
That's not what they're trying to sell you, though, Leo.
I know. They're trying to sell you that it could do it without any human intervention. But you know what? Does anybody really want that?
Yes, they want that.
Who they? Hollywood.
The people, the people who are potentially interested in buying it. There is this narrative around that, we're months or a year or two away from you being able to just type in, make a little cute 3-minute video about a guy who has a balloon head, and this is what comes up. And the truth is, we're very, very far away from that. It requires human writers, it requires human editors, it requires a lot of post-production work and help and coddling, and that's fine. But it means that this is just another tool, that it is not the end-all, be-all for all these industries.
I mean, the real thing is that AI can't make changes. It's like it gives you a thing and that's it. Like you can't tell it.
Then you have to go back and do it over.
No, the human has to do that.
He says that for 1.5 minutes of footage, that's how long the film is, not very long, they generated, he'd guess, hundreds of generations at 10 to 20 seconds apiece. My math is bad, but I would guess probably 300 to 1 in terms of the amount of source material to what ended up in the final.
I could have shot that faster than that, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just a dude walking around with a balloon.
Here's to me the difference between this and CGI. So you could look at the first use of CGI, which was in Jurassic Park and that dinosaur.
The Abyss.
Huh?
The Abyss.
Okay, the Abyss with the head. But if you could look at that and say, well, that's cool and that's interesting. Yeah, James Cameron didn't think it'd be possible. I can't remember the story. It's in that Disney Plus documentary. It's a really good documentary about Lucasfilm. But anyway, you could look at it and say, well, it's going to get better and better. And at some point, it's going to be good enough to fool people. But that's different. That's CGI. I don't know that there's a guarantee that AI will ever cross that last couple of percent to be fully self-driving, fully sentient, fully able to make a movie in one pass without a lot of human fixing. I don't think it's a similar kind of technology. I don't think it's a linear thing. I think the last bit is very, very hard. And a lot of things with computers, doing that last bit that humans find easy is very hard for them. So, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
Hey, Jeff, we got him.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
We finally
sneaky.
beat it out of him.
You sneaky.
We broke his spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Us in the Supreme Court.
I don't know. I'm very excited about what AI can do. I don't think it's going to replace humans. I mean, that should reassure everybody. But that doesn't mean it won't be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be an amazing use of this. I'm sure that, like, parts of the creation of this video will be, like, way easier in a year, especially 2 to 5 years. But I think it doesn't do it does everybody a disservice to overhype the capabilities.
Yeah,
now.
Absolutely.
That's the thing I'm hearing a lot now.
Especially when you use it to try to scare people.
Yeah.
One matter, but use it to sell people, but to scare them so you can sell them, which is what the doomers do.
Right.
I mean, it reminds me of that, what was it, the Google Gemini demo that we were all oohing and ahhing
Oh, yeah,
over.
there's a good example.
And then it was like, oh, no, this is actually, there were prompts that it took a lot of trial and error to get right, and then we added the voiceover. It's just like, just show us your actual work and let us be impressed by it's an amazing innovation.
Yes.
Show us what you're doing
That's right.
instead of selling us a dream.
That's right.
Gutenberg
my
started trying to print 3 colors at the same time and gave up.
Drink,
too hard.
guys. We hit Gutenberg right there in the end.
Boy, we saved it. That's really pulled the irons out of the fire at the last possible minute.
So
I was worried we'd go without.
I did try to sell the book off at the conference yesterday. So I can cure everything you have, though, with Lunabot.
Lunabot?
So in my pick, if I may, should I jump into my pick?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we probably did the story, probably made fun of it, of a professor who put his kid in a helmet with a GoPro on it to try to understand how kids learn to teach AI how to learn. And it sounded like it was ridiculous, but it wasn't. It's a professor at NYU whose darling daughter, Luna. Wasn't that a great name for a baby, though? Luna? I love that.
It's a good name.
Once an hour a week, they do this. And they want to learn how she's learning. And so there's this paragraph in here that I love. Where is it here? Where she's eating. And babuga, she said, pointing a round figure at the berries, a bunch of blueberries. So babuga. Dr. Kwan gave her the rest, and Dr. Lake looked at the empty bowl amused. That's like $10, he said. A light on the camera blinked. Right? So there's that process of how does Luna learn the word blueberry? And if you won't mind, Leo, if you go to the next line in the rundown, there's a great video from not long back ago of Jan LeCun talking about how, about AI as a 4-year-old. It's not long. We didn't check our sound beforehand, did we?
No, it works.
What a child sees through vision, and try to put a number on how much information a 4-year-old child has seen during his or her life. And it's about 20 megabytes per second going through the optical nerve for 16,000 wake hours in the first 4 years of life, and 3,600 seconds per hour. You did the calculation, and that's 10 to the 15 bytes. So what that tells you is that a 4-year-old child has seen 50 times more information than the biggest LLMs that we have. And the 4-year-old child is way smarter than the biggest LLMs that we have. The amount of knowledge that's accumulated is apparently smaller because it's in a different form. But in fact, a 4-year-old child has learned an enormous amount of knowledge about how the world works. And we can do this with LLMs today. And so we're missing some essential science and new architectures to take advantage of sensory input that future AI systems would be capable of taking advantage of. And this will require a few scientific and technological breakthroughs, which may happen in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We don't know. It's hard.
Wait, I want to make sure I understand.
That's kind of interesting. Was that this year's World Economic Forum?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But how long is it going to get before we do ingest 50 times more? We're growing.
Well, I don't know that
rapidly,
I don't know that that's the
tokens.
goal, actually.
Oh, okay.
I talked about this with Jason on AI Inside, where the child has a sense of. The example I used with Jason was a hand can't go through a wall. A child learns that early on. I hit the wall stops my hand. AI hasn't learned that, right? AI has crazy things happen because it has no sense of reality, none whatsoever. And I don't know that we'll ever get to the point that it will be able to learn those kinds of lessons in reality. And why is that our goal, to make it be like us? The machine should do what the machine does really well, even if that's a bunch of different general tasks. But to make us the goal is hubris of our species. Oh, well, of course, the machine wants to be like us. It needs to be like us. No, it doesn't.
Right.
It's going to be totally different and much better than us on a bunch of things.
Yeah, I think it's a silly comparison.
It'll be complementary
because it doesn't learn even the same way as a 4-year-old does. So it's really an apples to oranges comparison.
Well, it's part of what LeCun, though, is working on, and this NYU prof, is they do want to see what it would be like to teach it as a 4-year-old rather than by sucking up all the content in the world.
Right. Jeff Hawkins, for a long time, he's a neuroscientist, but he was also the founder of Palm. And his company, Numenta, was designed to create chips that would act more like the human brain. The human brain is much slower than a computer, but it's massively parallel. And so he is trying to create these Numenta chips that are massively parallel so that the process can be more like the human process.
Well, isn't that exactly what NVIDIA shows with their racks and racks and racks and racks of machines? That
it's not even close.
With the tiny but powerful chip?
It's not even close.
Well, that's the goal, I'm saying.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think Numenta might have pivoted because I'm looking now at their website, and it looks just like NVIDIA. It's the same kind of scale.
That's where the money is.
Yeah, it's not doing the parallel stuff that he was really interested in. That might have failed. I don't know.
And human brain runs on 20 watts.
Yeah, it's just a completely different machine.
We're very efficient.
It's a very different kind of machine, but it's incredibly slow. The passage of information through the brain is much slower than electronics. Much.
And it gets slower, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, Jeff. Yes, it does.
Can I also just plug my op-ed in Editor and Publisher?
Yes.
And God bless them for running things that are critical of their industry. A guy named Mike Blinder is wonderful. So this is my screed against so much of the legislation going on, an attempt to save news. There's a new one that's not even in here in California.
I love the headline on this. Is history repeating itself? I have concerns.
The problem is that legislators are listening to the legacy industry's lobbyists rather than the communities affected by the decline of their newspapers, say I.
They always have, of course. Incumbents always get the attention. They're the ones making the contributions. The good news is, for some reason, somehow, time and time again, the young upstarts always end up winning. It just takes a little longer because the incumbents put up roadblocks. It happens in science, too. The scientists who know how everything works are always slow to recognize the new sciences, but eventually they take hold. So I think that's just normal. And unfortunately, we old folks are really a part of what's in the way. I just wanted, if you wanted to have a little supercomputer in your house, I just wanted to tell you that the GSA is selling the former government supercomputer called the Cheyenne, and it's really quite a deal. This thing is massive.
Oh my God, it's huge.
14 units weighing 1,500 pounds each. Those are the E-cells. The E-racks are 28 units. The racks, all water-cooled. 4,032 dual-socket units. 8,064 processors running, 18-core processors running at 2.3 gigahertz base frequencies.
How old is it?
Not that old. It's DDR4 memory. It's not that old. But I'll tell you what, you can get it for $100,000. The current bid,
You have to pick it up.
Does it include delivery? That was my question too.
Delivery not included.
It actually does not, and you got to pick it up and put it on a truck yourself.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Probably
it
a
costs
couple
you
trucks.
the same amount to ship it that it costs to buy it. The system is supplied with previously used PGW coolant, about 10 gallons per E-cell. But and it's in current condition. It's not perfect. Wonder how long it was in service.
Need to see it play Doom.
It could play Doom. It could play Doom in the lights on the front of the computer, I guarantee you. You'll have to go to Cheyenne, Wyoming at the NCAR Wyoming Supercomputer Center. It's just off I-80 on exit 357. From I-25, take the I-80 West exit, then take exit 357. Bring your wife, your checkbook, and your pink slip if you want to get
Lawson cutoff.
the Cheyenne Supercomputer. This is great. I mean, I don't know where I found this, but yeah, you can get your very own Cheyenne supercomputer, and it's cheap right now. Now maybe there's only 2 days left in the bidding. Maybe somebody's going to snipe it at the very end, and it'll end up going for a lot more. But it closes May 3rd at 6:11 p.m. Central Time. 18 bidders so far. You can actually see the bidding history and everything. What was the original? It started at $24,000. It's going up though. Last guy raised the bid $85.
$85. That's very funny.
That's the bid.
He probably did it as a joke, and he's going to be stuck with it now.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny? Yeah, you don't want to win this
Just
auction.
doing a $100,000 purchase bid as a joke. That's pretty good.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can breathe a sigh of relief. This show is almost over, but I do thank you for putting up with us for the last couple of hours. Paris Martineau is really great. Read her stuff at The Information. She can't tell us what she's working on, but if you have a toop or a skip, a skip or a toop, a scoop or a tip.
If you have a skip or a toop, reach out to me. My signal is Martineau01.
Martineau01 on the old signal. Just the same signal, by the way, used by Jeff Bezos and his executives to keep the FTC at bay. Right? Same good technology. Jeff Jarvis, he is still, according to this right here, the director of the Townite Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Emeritus. Somewhere, I don't know where to stick the emeritus. Somewhere there's an emeritus.
Somewhere in there.
I think you should choose a
Professor
different
Emeritus.
place every time. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. You're going to do any more conferences this week, or are you done now?
No, I'm tired.
I bet you are.
Very tired.
That's a lot of work.
Moderating straight whole day is hard.
Murder. Very
And
good.
he was on mic duty, like anytime somebody moved that mic more than a couple inches away from their face, he was up there being like,
We trained him
back.
well.
He was ready.
We've trained
He
him.
was like, my mic is flopping all around. Your mic's flopping all around on this podcast, but you were prepared.
Hey, what are you saying?
He's good. His mic technique
Did
is
you tighten
excellent.
it?
He did. He tightened it. Look at that. That spider is holding on tight.
Ooh.
Thank you for joining us. A special thanks to our club members. We really appreciate your help, your support, and your participation. This community exists because of you. So thank you very much. I mean that with all honesty. Thanks also to those who merely listen, but you could kick a little money if you wanted to. It wouldn't be so bad. We do appreciate both of you. We do this show every Wednesday, right about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 2100 UTC. Watch us live on YouTube, youtube.com/twit. All of our shows are live. If you want to get notifications when we go live, smash the bell. That's just smash that bell.
Tap that bell.
Tap the bell. Do whatever it is. Do the thing. After the
like
fact,
and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. That's the way to say it. After the show is over, we put edited copies of it up on the website, twit.tv/twig. There's also a YouTube channel with the video. And you can subscribe to either audio or video in your favorite podcast client. That way you get it automatically the minute it is available. I will be back Sunday for Ask the Tech Guys and Twit, and I will see you then. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Paris. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google.